regional playoff and 4 from the last chance qualifier. Let's start with Yahoo, who won the regional playoff.
Yeah, I think Yahoo is definitely a team, of course, that you have to keep your eye on. I mean, Bale Frost, Punij Shinboy, and of course Sparking, who has once again kind of risen to another level himself. He had the most kills during the qualifier. This team, certainly scary.
Yeah, I really like the team logo. The cute chicken. I wonder who drew it. And next is Bing Bang Boom. It's consisted of the old Space Station Gaming member.
I think this is a team full of a lot of really smart young players. Roth, Keenan as well, a former IGL Oldless, and then of course Sharpshot, a guy who at times has been arguably the best fragger in Americas. So really excited for these guys going forward.
And next coming up is Gaskins, Guadalajara Gaskins, always hard to pronounce it. This team has always performed well in the PCS Americas, and I heard that Waikakamukau has transferred to this team.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of my favorite players. His name is really, really fun to say, of course, but joining Waikakamukau on the gas cans, of course, Nikos, Greg Shot, and then their IGL Adam, who's also the brother of Coach Did, so from FaZe. So this is a really interesting team, a really smart team that has improved rapidly. You know, Waikakamukau said they struggled a little bit earlier. Now they look great.
And there's one more team that picked up the old Fury member, is E-United, coming back to PUBG Esports scenes in a long time. They picked up the old Oath members, along with Flood, who showed aggressive and impressive plays in PGC 2021.
Yeah, I think this goes to show you why Fury was doing so well at PGC. They're a stacked roster with a lot of really good players. Oath as well had phenomenal results at the end of last year. I mean, they were constantly pushing the envelope at every event. So this is a team that you have to watch out for. They absolutely could pop off and win the event.
Yeah, I think if they have more time to play together, I think they can get much better.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of teams that have played together for a while, STK is also coming in here. Once again, the veterans, consistency. What else can you say about this team? They're amazing. They're just constantly getting it done, constantly placing top 5 at events. So, you know, another team you can never ever count out. And the last team to come through the qualifiers was 300, a team that's been pretty consistent, pretty fun to watch. Neferhor and Extreme on this team, 2 really good players from Australia. It's been a very consistent, very solid team for the last year.
So in North America, there was the surprising news that Sonics, aka PGI's champion, did not qualify in the regional playoff, but managed to get that last ticket in the last chance qualifier. What happened to Sonics?
Well, I mean, look, every team sometimes has, you know, bad days, bad weeks, whatever. You know, the Sonics, it has been a little bit rough and tumble for them since their PGIS win. Just doesn't seem like they're quite gelling again yet. They're quite on the same page. I mean, the rule format change again. A lot of these things could be coming into play, but certainly the Sonics are a force to be reckoned with.
I found out that Dressel is a sub-member of Sonics. What do you think about that?
Well, Dressel just can't stay out of PUBG Esports. I mean, how could you not, right? Like.
So maybe we can expect him play in PCS6 Americas?
Maybe. I mean, I'd always like to see Dressel play. He's a great bolter. I'm a big fan, but the Sonics have a really stacked roster. Moving on, there is also Dodge again. They're a really, really good team. Cherry, you know, he's always been a competitor in the Americas region, a very strong one. Then up Nootropic, a pretty interesting team here with Hello Senpai and some others putting together one Lata as well from the former 300 squad. And last but not least, the Rumblers. I mean, they're a fun team to watch. They're great dudes. You know, Los, Waldo, Valiate, and Corsac this time coming in. I'm really excited for this team as always. They're gonna be fun no matter what.
So today we were able to break down the 32 teams from 2 regions first in details because we divided into 2-2. So I hope the fans could also enjoy the full month of PCS6.
Yeah, I really like this format a lot. Now you can kind of focus on a couple regions at a time, and then, you know, eventually you'll get to see Asia and Europe. You just got to be a little bit more patient.
Yeah, Pick'em Challenge is also back for PCS6. This time, due to the changed format, PCS6 Americas and APAC Pick'em Challenge opened first in April 6th. So don't miss out the Pick'em Challenge. Support your team by purchasing the PCS6 exclusive items. And again, here's our pick. PCS6 APAC and Americas are kicking off in April 15th with 32 amazing teams performing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited for, of course, our teams that we've seen all the time, but we've got a lot of new players, a lot of young talent up and coming, so you guys definitely want to check this out.
So don't miss out the PCS6 APAC and Americas, and we'll be back with the information about PCS6 Europe and Asia after the qualifier is over, so don't miss that episode 2. We'll be back soon! And don't forget to like and subscribe.
죽어. 다 죽었다. 진짜 미치겠다.
Hello PUBG esports fans. The PUBG Continental Series is back with PCS6 just around the corner. As the finest teams around the world prepare for battle, it's time once again to learn about what prizes you fans can bring home with the Pick'em Challenge. Want to find out how to earn valuable esports points and free voting coupons? Let's dive right into it. There's a ton of new PCS6 esports items waiting for you to purchase and earn, starting with this tournament's premium items. Until May 6th, you'll be able to pick up PCS6 themed items for your own games and support your favorite teams while doing so. Each purchase supports our PCS6 teams, with 30% of net sales going right back to them via the prize pool. Purchasing PCS6 items will also reward you with up to 14 voting coupons to use in Pick'em Challenge events. Buying gets you cool stuff while supporting the teams you love watching and giving you extra chances to earn even more. One change this time around. Voting periods for teams will be held separately, as regions face off during separate 2-week competitions. You can vote for Asia Pacific and Americas regions from April 6th until April 22nd, and Asian and European regions from April 25th until May 6th. Now, let's take a look at all the ways to pick 'em and win. The first event of the Pick'em Challenge is the Pick the Winner game. Use your voting coupons to predict the overall winners for each participating region. If your chosen team is declared the winner of their region, you get 100,000 EP to spend in the esports shop. With 4 different regions, that's 400,000 EP up for grabs in the game, so plan your picks out and sit back while the EP rolls in. The second game is Team Face-Off. In Team Face-Off, you can earn EP without needing a coupon, simply by picking the winner between 2 rival teams. Like before, EP prizes will be weighted depending on how many votes a team has gotten, so playing it safe for a smaller prize or risking your vote for a higher payout are both valid options. Prizes range from 400 to 7,600 EP, so choose your team and cheer them on. There are also ways for you to earn a free voting coupon and bonus EP. First, tune into PCS6 live streams for a special code that pops up during the games. Redeeming the code fast enough will grant you another free voting coupon. You'll be able to grab 2 voting coupons from the first week of APAC Americas and Asia Europe streams, so don't forget to stay tuned as the tournament begins. For even more EP, make sure your Crafton account is connected to Twitch. You'll earn EP through drops by watching official tournament broadcasts. You can also play the Pick and Go game on official PUBG Twitch channels. Pick and Go puts you up against randomly selected players to each choose the 9 teams you think will perform best in the next match. Enter your picks and watch your score grow as the match goes on. If your points beat out the other teams, you'll earn some EP. A new Pick and Go game starts each match, so play often and win more. To check out the teams and cast your votes, pop into the PCS6 Esports tab by clicking the PCS logo in the menu. Here you'll find info on the tournament. You can also click on the button in the bottom left corner to learn more at the official PUBG Esports website. The Esports tab will be operational until May 25th. You picked them, now it's time to spend them. Browse through the Esports shop and plan out how to spend your soon-to-be oodles of EP. Once you've collected your points, come back and spend them on your favorite items. The shop will only be open until May 25th, and any leftover EP will be lost after the store closes, so make sure to use it all. The first global event of 2022 is almost here. Which squads will claim victory for their region? Find out when PUBG Continental Series 6 begins on April 15th. Pick your teams, cast your vote, and tune in for all the great PUBG esports action.
Trên một con xe, và đây là con xe Dacia nha. Góc bắn nó sẽ rất thoải mái rồi, và đây là một quả đấy quá đẹp đến từ Hải Saki, gần như knock out hết hoàn toàn đội của Senzo. Đó là knock out hết. Nổ cả xe.
Just hears it now, just rounding that corner. Ragnar inside the smokes, but I mean, throwables are just going to finish this out real quick.
Yeah, I mean, this was the problem we knew for Just Too Easy. I mean, they were on that south side. As soon as Troglodytes took this spot over, it was pretty much GG for Just Too Easy. Yep, there you go. It's cleaned up. Troglodytes will get.
กับทางด้านของ DX ไปเลยว่าเฮ้ย
มาดูก่อนฮะตรงนี้ท่านผู้ชมว่าไฟท์ใหญ่แน่นอนครับผมมีพิชชาในมาเช็ดหมดเลย
เฮ้ย
แล้วโดดลงมาเจมเอ้าปาอะไรอ่ะ
Bây giờ chưa còn tính điểm hạng thôi thì họ đã rất sát một cái điểm unicorn trắng. Còn ở đây đó là sắp lọ làm đôi đến từ Sology. Triple kill dành cho Sology. Một tiếng công nhà đến từ Luxurious 1v4 và bây giờ nó là 1v1 rồi. Tham Minh hơi sai. Đẩy ra.
And have LFP. Come to, there you go. Corsac going to find the opening one on the VHZ. LFP is just a fish in the water right now. RBN also knocked within an inch of his life.
Elliot's just playing with his food right now. There you go, gets one of them. LFP just around the other corner. Does lose vision on it, but gonna eventually reveal. So
Tell that they are pretty busted. More utility just being traded back and forth between Rumblers and Bing Bang Boom. It's like, oh no, sharp shot!
lùi thì đã nằm trước đó rồi. Glory chờ sẵn mình ta sấy về phía team Extra đi nè. Người vừa rớt xe đó là Trick. Và bây giờ Glory không có thông tin, nhưng sau tình huống nhá vừa rồi anh ta đã biết được Gil ở đâu rồi. Liêu đang bị rung súng vậy, ta không thể nào sấy được về phía Glory. Double knock out cho Glory, hoàn toàn có thể là triple, và đây là một tình huống clear squad cho Glory.
Start to peek out of the long compound. United decided Nootropic first. We need to eliminate them so we can give all of our focus to Yahoo to get in safely. Nootropic fall down very quickly, and now that information that
I know what you really want. Turn it up and do it die. Maybe we're in paradise. I'm feeling like a hero. Turn it up and do it die. Everything is on the line. I'm feeling like a hero. Turn it up and do it die. Maybe we're in paradise. I'm feeling like a hero. I'm feeling like a hero. I'm feeling like a hero.
Born ready.
It's day 5 of PCS6 APAC. We are getting towards the busy end here for what is essentially a one-horse race now, Jordan. We love the two-horse races in APAC. Unfortunately, there's only one team that's really running away with things. Day Trade, of course, on top. A good 70-point buffer over Unicorn Phoenix. It kind of feels like it's going to be the battle for second.
Yeah, it certainly does. Look, I mean, I guess it's maybe still a little bit too early to say that. Obviously, there is the possibility that Day Trade has a horrible couple of days here. Unicorn Phoenix could accelerate and maybe make it interesting, but I have to agree with you. I think at the moment, Day Trade is just looking far too consistent. They're picking up wins left, right, and center, and they just seem to be far and away the best team in the region at the moment. Unicorn Phoenix is sort of a close-ish second in a sense. But of course, you know, there is that big battle for second place, right? Theraton 5 definitely worthy of the discussion. Team Bliss is in there as well, and even Cerberus might be a bit of an outside shot there. So a few interesting teams to keep an eye on. What has been interesting, though, about this week, and I'm glad we've actually got Attack All Around up on the graphic at the moment, is that we've seen a massive resurgence from Attack All Around and from Archangel Predator. If you remember, last week coming in, I was talking a lot about those guys. I was saying, you know, I really expect good things from these two teams this season, and they really didn't deliver in week 1. So it's good to see that, you know, given they've had a bit of time to work with, coming here into week 2, they'll be able to get themselves sorted.
Yeah, and while they obviously can't win the event itself, or, you know, arguably sort of a top 3 finish looks very unlikely, although theoretically possible, it puts them in a better position in terms of prize pool and, more importantly, PGC points. So big turnaround for those two teams, like you mentioned. And I think now, unless something kind of funky happens, the top 10 that we've actually got is probably the top 10 in the region right now for APAC. So I think there's no real outlier anymore. At the conclusion of week 1, we very much were sitting back and saying, what's going on with Archangel Predator, what's going on with AAA, down the bottom, probably not where they should be. So a good bounce back from them, of course, to start week 2. Moving forward, of course, now for day 2 of week 2, all eyes sort of back towards the top end of the standings. Day Trade. Well, Unicorn Phoenix won the first game yesterday and thought maybe for a second we could have something magical happen. And then Day Trade, of course, they just kept on doing their thing, and Unicorn Phoenix kind of dropped off after that.
Yeah, a couple of wins yesterday for Day Trade. I mean, I guess after the first couple of games yesterday, there was again that air of possibility when you had, as you say, Unicorn Phoenix doing well, Archangel Predator, attack all around, Team Bliss even being able to do pretty well in the first couple of games of yesterday. And then you get to games 3 and 4, and all of a sudden it's kind of back to normalcy again. And I guess basically what we need out of today, if we're to have a pretty interesting finish tomorrow, is Day Trade to not find themselves in the top 3 in probably any of the games.
Wow, any of them.
Yeah, I mean, look, like the fact even that last week they got wins on days 1 and 2. They got 5 wins on day 1 and 2. Yep. Then they came through in day 3 and didn't get a single win, but they were still within the top 5 in 3 of the 5 games. It means just keeping that scoreboard ticking over when you've got such of a lead. You know, it's very difficult to sort of come back from that kind of a deficit as long as Day Trade's putting points on the board. So we really need them to not put points on the board if anyone else is likely to catch up. But I mean, they run away with week 1. They're already at the top of the charts again for week number 2. Who can really expect at this point that anyone but Day Trade will walk away with the victory here in PCS6? I suppose that is the journey that we're going to have to go on today and tomorrow to find out. But all eyes really still remain on Day Trade as we head into the very first game of the day.
Well, at the moment, coming into what is essentially day 5, Day Trade are literally averaging 60 points a day.
Unreal.
60 points a day, which is what, 10 points a game?
12 points a game.
Well, 12 points a game. Yeah, I forgot actually we're on 5 games now, not 6. I was calculating for the 6. It's taken me a little bit to get used to that one. But no, what I'm getting at there with Jordan is just the insane consistency from Day Trade, right? It's not like they've just come in week 1 and won like, 6 games in a row or something crazy, or winning 4 or 5 games in a row with like massive kill numbers. Like, they've just been able to steadily keep the pace throughout the entire event. And even when they kind of stopped winning games back on day 3 of week 1, as you mentioned, still top place finishing, still able to rack up the kills as well. So they have been impeccable. Their best season of PUBG APAC we've ever seen for a team that had the storyline of being a part of every single PCS event. That was sort of the storyline coming into the event, and that's now shifted to being the best team in the event. Of course, lo and behold, the Expendables and Attack all around still with that Pachinki battle. We come back to Erangel to start today as well, 3 games, and then we'll finish off with 2 games on Miramar as 777 goes down immediately to Janku Turov.
Yeah, I mean, we yesterday did actually get to see Attack all around having quite a bit of success. So I wonder if the Expendables are going to suffer at their hands one more time. Archangel Predator seemed to have flipped their UAS, or maybe it was flipped there by the Day Trade player. Either way, Nan's actually been run over by Belmont. That's not something that you see all that often, to be honest. But guess he just got himself into an awkward spot, and Mad Dog is running for the hills at the moment. He's going to get some assistance from Algen bots by the looks of things. Hopefully he's got himself a weapon, but maybe he can just pick him up in that Dacia.
And just as we were kind of giving a bit of praise to Archangel Predator based on yesterday's performance, they drop a player early on. Not ideal. Only game 1, though, of course, of 5 today here for week 2, which is now day 2. How quick this event does go by. That's why when we think back to day 1, day 2 of week 1, you do not want to sit back and say, oh, these games don't not matter. But in some ways, every game matters. And every single match is so important. Getting off to a fast start means so much. There's really, at least for this event in itself, you kind of look back to week 1. The teams that started well are still all the teams in the top 3. So generally speaking, I think, for a 30-game kind of event, you start well, you tend to finish well.
Yeah. I wanted to just go back quickly to the Day Trade discussion for a moment while this fight is, I suppose, in its infancy. And just point out that at the moment, 244 points for Day Trade. And if we take a look at the Americas region, which is at the same point where we are at right now in APAC, their highest total points, which is Sonics, is 184. So that just goes to show how top-heavy the APAC region is and how far ahead Day Trade really have been able to run, be able to sort of soak up so many of those points. They've been doing a crazy, crazy amount of work here, and it's just kind of unreasonable to expect anyone's going to be able to catch up to them. Anyway, here in Pachinki, a bit of an interesting exchange still occurring. The Expendables obviously down a player and waiting patiently to see if Attack all around is going to make a mistake. I honestly can't believe at this point, though, Xenox, that not one of these teams has moved away. Like, it's getting a bit serious now, isn't it? Right? Well, you're giving up potential PGC points, and it's just not good.
I can believe it because it's day 2 of week 2, and we're still seeing it. So yeah, in some ways, at this point now, I'm actually more in the... I would be more in disbelief if they actually did pull away from this. I think the biggest thing that's going to come out of this is more so actually the NESP in PCS7 is the next event. Like, if these two teams are here once again, someone has to sit back, do the proper VOD reviewing, and think, was this actually worth it? Because at this point now, it's too late. You've got 2 more days. You may as well finish it off. I get that. I did think after week 1, maybe one of the 2 teams would move away. But this is the problem. I didn't know which one it would be. As Levi's is, just sitting patiently, I didn't know which one it would be. And I think in that instance, because of that, you can't really sit back and say either team really won it, and why is the other team not leaving? As that nade is perfect. Gloom's forced through the doorway. Levi's gets that down. And this is what I'm saying, though, Jordan. It's an even battle in Pachinki between these 2 teams.
Yeah, it's always been a bit messy, hasn't it? Very rare to see one team walking away with all 4 alive or doing so cleanly. Janku will be able to get the better of Levi's and swaps out to the M16 for another couple of shots.
Wow.
Oh, Duckjuice is lucky to be alive.
And keeps his team alive too with that 1 HP. It's incredible how sometimes the finest of margins can have a big effect, and why not with a nade, although this one's just going to miss everything unless he readjusts it. No, probably just doesn't have the information of the players down, although it hits the headshot onto Janku and just continues to put a bit of damage to the AAA. Gems can try and get that heal up now, but yeah, it's the word of obviously PCS events gone by was mutual destruction, and the only way it's applicable for this PCS event is these 2 teams. I don't know what's happening there to Jayers, who's on ice skates, but Gems is the last.
That's what we call the wide swing, mate. That was the wide swing. That was the wide swing.
It was the decoy grenade thrown out. No, but look, even in that instance, yes, attack all around. They get the 4 kills. The expendables are out, but they're wounded. They don't have much in terms of utility, gear, etc. And they obviously have lost a player too because of that. Now we see Cab come in for Baldam United. Zast is going to head on out and fulfill his old substitute role duties as he did in previous events.
Yeah. I guess for BN United, maybe this is as a result of the rougher week that they've been having here in week 2. It really didn't come together yesterday, so maybe changing things up a little bit because of the issues that they were having, but hopefully it's going to sort of start to pick up a little bit for them, because overall they're sitting in a pretty good spot in 6th. They need to have a decent week here. They need to have a decent couple of days to sort of maintain a position like that. There was one other change, I believe, coming into today, which was on the side of NRX. Nicel was swapped out for Lima. At least that's the information that was given through to us. We'll obviously catch up with that as we take a look at NRX going through today. But aside from that, I don't believe there was any other roster swaps coming through here into day number 5.
Team Bliss, of course, like a couple of other teams around them, having a very good start to week 2. They picked up 45 points, and obviously Archangel Predator, well, they picked up 46 points to be just 1 ahead of Team Bliss there for the start of week 2, which has obviously meant probably a bit more for Archangel Predator. Team Bliss were already in and around that sort of top 4, top 5, haven't necessarily been able to move too much, although puts them in a really good contention now for top 3. For Archangel Predator, of course, it's all about getting into the top 10 and as far beyond as they possibly can. I mean, when you kind of look at the numbers, 35 points behind 5th. So if you look at top 5 as the goal down for Archangel Predator, and probably the same set for Attack all around, the position that's now achievable courtesy of their start here in week 2. So it's all about keeping up appearances and continuing on. NRX, as you mentioned, roster swap for, I think, yesterday as well. Lima coming in there and has remained in. So NRX, a team that didn't really have much knowledge about these guys coming into this event. Jordan, at the moment, inside of the bottom 5, 78 points. Not too bad, all things considered, for a team making their first PCS event, but not really in contention for sort of a top 5 finish or anything along those lines.
Yeah, look, I don't think we had a huge amount of expectations for this NRX roster coming in. It's their first season for the vast majority, bar Maestro, in PCS. And so if they're able to sort of keep up the numbers and at least be, to an extent, a competitor, then I'm happy with that. They had a really good start to the season, and it looked like maybe they would be able to actually perform a little better than Archangel Predator. Didn't end up being the case in the long term, or at least it doesn't seem like it will be, but ultimately some good numbers being put up by NRX, and so that's good to see. Nice also to catch Unicorn Phoenix in the kill feed there for a second. I'm not sure that that will be a kill that's confirmed, just taking a look at the mini-map. Isaki. Oh, he is out in no man's land. So Hungbo Ditch definitely gone searching for it. And unfortunately for him, his teammates are not close enough, and Hungbo Ditch will indeed end up finishing that one off. So 1 point up for the Unicorn Phoenix lads. And as we were saying at the start of the day, Xenox, that is kind of what you need to be seeing if we're going to expect a 2-horse race tomorrow. For now, very much still a 1-horse race. I don't know what the gap would need to be for me to get a little bit excited, but I'd probably want it to be within maybe 20 or 30 at the most to sort of be brought back. And obviously they're down by like 70 at the moment. So you need to have like a 60-plus point day here today for Unicorn Phoenix and hope that Day Trade is only able to get, you know, maybe 20 points out of it or something like that. And even then, like that's still really difficult to come back from, I'd say.
Yeah, very difficult. When you also consider the Day Trade have been averaging 60 points a day for the entire event, and to then think that they're suddenly just going to have a lowly 20-point day, that's unlikely. That's something that you're just not going to want to rely on. That circle shift for phase 2 all the way down to Milta, that is a big shift, and that's going to force vastly almost every single team to rotate now down towards that Milta zone. We actually had a couple of circles like this last week, I think, for Erangel around that Milta and mini Milta power area. Quite often, same with Lumbermill, as Cerberus on the move. Now, of course, down to just the 3 players. But yeah, for Unicorn, it has to be a mix of both. They need to go and have like an 80-point kind of day, or at least at minimum, a 60-point kind of day. And yeah, then Day Trade about 20. That would be about, what, plus 40 on the day over Day Trade. So if the gap's about 70 now, that would bring it down to about 30 going into the final day. Is that achievable then? Well, the answer is probably yes. So a lot has to happen,
yes.
But mathematically, it is still somewhat possible, just unlikely.
Yeah, realistically speaking, probably not. Day Trade have really not missed a beat. I guess they did slow down a little bit on day 3. Simon's going to go for the seat swap. It looks like Kid X is going to get the better of that, and Trick was there as well to help out. And so, in the end, Simon unceremoniously does get run over. Clory's able to grab one on the way past. It's a bit of a madhouse, really, as we do continue to see teams rotating past one another. Unicorn Phoenix looks like they want to get involved here as well. Clory, Sapao, Hungvo Ditch, all these names getting thrown in. And in the end, I'm not sure that anyone really walks away from that unscathed. Unicorn Phoenix lost Chu. The BN United lads lost a couple of players, and it's down to just Sapao now, and they've actually landed right on top of Luxurious Esports. That's BN United out in 15th place. It didn't last much longer for them to start the day off here than it did yesterday. So regardless of the roster change, it's just not picked up at all for BN United. I
mean, if anything, that's, their second worst result overall for this week so far. So nothing better than what we saw from them at all. And if anything, the day kind of got better as it went on for Bound United yesterday. 5th place, 7th, 6th, etc. So at least better placement finishes. It was the way they started, 13th and 16th for their first 2 games. And they do replicate that here for day 2 of week 2, when they finish off in 15th position. 51 players alive. Not really too surprising to see basically what we saw just take place, courtesy of that phase 2 circle shift, forcing out the majority of rotations from teams who were up to the north, out towards the west, and now everyone starts to congregate over towards Farm, Milta. Lumbermill actually completely open here. For this kind of circle is a little surprising. We are going to be expecting it to move a bit more in the more northern direction away from the water, not necessarily for phase 3, but of course eventually by phase 4. So little surprised to see that still available. We'll see who's going to be the benefit of that. It might end up being Theraton 5, I think, as we watch them make their way in.
Well, the thought process probably is that this next phase could still go very central. It could still move a little bit further to the south. And if you're going to hedge your bets, then just playing a little further to the middle of the map is a little better, because you can always make a fairly straightforward rotation up north, but to come back down into Military if it's occupied is going to be a little more difficult. We'll have to wait and see where this circle does end up shifting in. But yeah, Theraton 5, they'd really be loving a northern shift. Unicorn Phoenix the same. Big question is, where's Day Trade? Because they have been the team to beat at the moment, and they're just sitting themselves nicely inside of the eastern side of Milta, and the circle's more or less going to shrink right over the top of it. And now, obviously, it has to move away from the water here for phase 4. And you'd have to say Day Trade's in a really good spot to play from.
Yeah, no, very, very good circle. And I think you actually made a good point there about basically reading into, if anything, the phase 3 shift going into then phase 4. in a sense as to where it's more likely to play, but also how you can almost play into phase 4 even earlier than that. And that's what we've seen from Daytrade, the number of teams there around Milta. So they've got a good circle. Does make it a bit more difficult now for those out towards farm. We saw a couple, I think it was NRX and Attack all around. Senjo were a little further to that as well, closer to the bridge, as NRX actually now try and make the run through. Maestro has done a couple of flips on the beach, and Belmoth is happy to be the firing squad leader there and take delight in his misfortunes. And his mate in Thailand, though, do crash the party a little bit. And this is where Daytrade split. You can see it in the minimap. Might backfire for them. Poochills is down to Escalusia in the middle of the road. Surely he's going to get finished off.
You'd have to assume so. Belmoth is still putting in the numbers, though. Suzunami does get finished off. And this beach has never really been a fun position to play from. There's just way too many open angles. Nam Xiao and Lima are going to have to just sit themselves in that little defilade and hope for the best. Hope that maybe they'll still be inside of the zone for the next shift and that they won't have to pop their heads up, because they are really up the creek without a paddle at the moment. Attack all around. 3 players still alive for them, still making their way in. Have a bit of work to do. And Unicorn Phoenix are very far up toward the northern side of the map. And to be honest, this might still play out for them relatively favorably, right? We can only assume that the circle is going to go north from here. And that entire northern side of the map is completely uncontested. Unicorn Phoenix will be able to just work their way in slowly but surely.
Well, it's a yes or no, right? Because the Milta field's not exactly where you would want to be standing in the middle of. And at times you could see the sort of lumber mill hill as it's coming down towards Milta can be very much out in the open. Once those trees are no longer a factor, you do become quite vulnerable to those teams even inside of Milta. So we've seen those kind of Milta finishes before. And yeah, sometimes the team that can kind of, find a decent position on the edge around those trees can do well, especially when the teams inside of Milta are forced out. It becomes very difficult for them. As Flash goes down to Kang, that's another gone now for Daytrade. Now, 2 kills on the board, that's okay in terms of points getting ticked over. But other than that, it's a slow start for Daytrade. Despite having a good position, you do have to wonder, should have they grouped up a little earlier? In fact, well, they never really did so.
No, they haven't. They still haven't. Nurans and Belmoth are playing a 1-1 split. So they're being very greedy, Daytrade. And look, I think you can get away with that when you're up so far. You're, 65 points above second place. You can afford to take the greedy plays. You can afford to just try to mess with other teams. But for sure, I think you could have expected a little more from Daytrade with the way that the circles did shift. Now, there's that hard northern shift that we were talking about. And ultimately, Unicorn Phoenix are not too disappointed by the way that this one has played out. It's moved about as favorably for them as it could have. Unfortunately for NRX, it seems like their time might be up. Monty has a beat onto Lima. Will manage to get that knock. Looking for the thirst, looking for the second player there as well. Maybe they'll be okay behind the vehicle, but even now you can see those little taps connecting onto Nam Xiao, and it really feels like an inevitability more than anything else that NRX will get eliminated.
Oh, Linksy. Hello. Bit of a long distance shot there from Senjo. You can see on the minimap, not inside of the circle at the moment. Team Bliss here on the cliffs. They will have to push on in. And fortunately, though, Mirage does get those kills. Now they can focus on where to go next. Those buildings that we saw just on the outskirts of Milta, largely available except for the 2 members of Daytrade. So Team Bliss do have a crash opportunity directly in front of them. Decent compounds inside of the next circle, away from the rest of the Milta madness, which you know is going to ensue once they're forced out of that city. I'm just trying to do a quick little head count, and there's 4 teams at the moment, with still 2 more teams out west that will probably look to make their way in. Now, here we go, 2 of them. MBK knocked down by Jayers. It's a fairly even trade. The nade from Smell should do the majority of the work. Now, there was a down for MBK, but other than that, the rest of AAA are on the back foot. It's only Gems that's left standing, and he can't stand for much longer. Sylphie gets that kill. Well played to Luxurious Esports.
Yeah, and I wonder where Archangel Predator is actually going to hole up. Maybe it is just going to be this little shack, this shed, and jump inside of the window. And look, it's not the worst place to be, I suppose. It's an interesting circle because of how open it is. Just a field, basically. Either you play the outskirts up on the top, up on the hill where Unicorn Phoenix is, or inside of Milta where the likes of Luxurious, Cerberus, made in Thailand, Senjo have kind of plied their trade. Or maybe you're like Team Bliss and Theraton 5 who are just sort of playing out towards the Milta power side of the circle. But there's not that much room inside the center of the zone. The only real compound there is the one that Alter Ego is holding at the moment. So Archangel Predator, they didn't have many options. They had to come in late. They had to deal with the scraps, and now they've locked themselves inside of basically what is a hut, a shack. They don't really have many options from there. They can't fight out. Best case scenario, Circle shrinks on them, and they get some good placement points out of it, and maybe they play out the late game. But for now, they really just have to keep their heads down and hope that no one chucks a grenade in.
Well, I was literally about to say that. I think they're too far away for nades to affect them. The door is facing Milta. Milta's way, way too far. You can see it on the map here. I don't think you're going to be able to throw a nade in from that distance. Now, obviously, if you push out a little bit into the Milta field, say like Luxurious, push out, and boy, that is barely in, by the way, for Archangel Predator. They were just mentioning that hut that they pushed into, Jordan, and they haven't quite got the luck of the draw for this circle shift. That's unfortunate for them, and now that ends up probably looking like more of a pit stop than anything. And yeah, Alter Ego getting the hard shift. Those compounds down to the south, the two members of Day Trade still inside of there. Does provide an option as well for Team Bliss if they want to push into that. But, how often do we really see Oceanic teams going for that crash onto compound kind of playstyle? As CJ ended up popping up his head, and he'll get punished for it by Sylphie. Now, they do start to push close enough to throw in these mollies and nades.
Yeah, this is where it starts to become a problem for Archangel Predator already. You're starting to see the grenades get tossed on in. The Molotov initially didn't land, but that nade, is it inside?
It is.
It is. It's just deep enough to catch CJ. And Algin Bots eats one as well. I mean, unfortunately for Archangel Predator, that was always going to happen.
I mean, if you see a team running at you, throwing smokes into the fields, pushing over to your shack, you probably don't really want to be shooting back. You probably just want to get out, play the backside of it. It's a difficult one, though, of course, because you've got the teams up in the woods that then can probably shoot at you. So just throw down a couple of smokes, I guess, and pray and see if you can sort of duck and weave the nades coming at you. But in the end, they didn't really do a whole lot, and that's kind of cost them there in that fight. Credit to Luxurious Esports, though, for pushing out as soon as possible. They've got 7 kills now. And so far, playing the zone and playing the circle pretty well for one of the Milta teams. Trick knocked down by Belmoth, a duo for Day Trade, doing a decent job in staying alive and continuing to try and get points ticking over. Unfortunately, though, his kill was stolen by Dat Blue of Unicorn Phoenix. Talk about storylining there, as Rogue Namsy with a decent nade as made in Thailand on the very edge of Milta will have to move it very soon.
Yeah, it's going to be an awkward time for all of those Milta teams, isn't it? Because you don't really want to be the last team out, but nor do you really want to be the first team out when there's nowhere to go. You're going to just have to kind of play the cover that's in front of you, try to play these little defilades, keep your back to the zone, and, obviously assume that there's no one behind you. But realistically speaking, there is not a whole lot that you can crash at this point in time. So you're just going to try and bide as much of it inside of Milta as you can, pick up those kill points where they are offered, and probably not look for overall great success in this one and try to get as many points as possible before you do inevitably drop. Team Bliss, they're just inside of the zone here, and if they're able to actually eliminate Magic Esports, they're going to find themselves in a really, really good spot. It is an interesting split, though, from Team Bliss. If Monty or Mirage go down here, then it becomes quite problematic, but Insight on the crossfire angle is able to provide a lot of assistance, and the fight, well, a 1-for-1 so far, could still go either way. That said, Theraton 5 have arrived, and those grenades are going to land right on top of Magic Esports, and I think that pretty much seals the deal. Magic Esports should be saying goodbye in just a second.
I was going to say, yeah, Theraton 5 is going to play spoiler here, unfortunately, for Magic Esports. Also, can I just say, I could be completely wrong here, but I swear I saw that Molotov hit the nade mid-air and explode in front of him. Could be wrong. I'd love to see that one back in slow motion. As we move forward, though, Reseda Jr. able to get the knockdown onto Insight makes things further painful for Team Bliss, but they do get the revives. They've still got 3 players up, but again, the circle, not really a favor for them in terms of the shift, as one non's gone for Magic Esports. So are they. Now only 10 teams remain, 27 alive, and we've only gone through 23 minutes of this game to start the night, and it's a good opportunity for Theraton 5. 4 players up. Unicorn Phoenix, Day Trade struggling a little bit, only a couple of kills. They could put the pressure on Unicorn Phoenix going into the rest of today and even into tomorrow. If they have a good day today, second place is up for grabs.
100%. I mean, Team Bliss is there. Theraton 5. Unfortunately, Cerberus probably not really in that discussion at the moment, down to just Duckmai, who is hiding out inside of the field as well. He doesn't have the zone. He's going to have to move. But Team Bliss is in a reasonable spot here, having taken the Wizzy. Theraton 5 have a bit of moving to do. But Duckmai is keeping himself interested. Gets another point on the board. That kill onto 74 L1. Day Trade now will need to defend against the offensive of Senjo. And it hasn't gone too well for them. Reb goes into the UAS and gets knocked as well by another grenade. Good defenses from Day Trade, but how much is that really going to help them out? Because there's just still only the 2 players to work with at the moment, and this is still clutchable for Senjo.
I mean, but this is the thing. You mentioned it right there. Only the 2 players. That nade just falling short, by the way, so it's on the other side of the little barrier, and that Molotov will catch Reb, but not Kang, who can get the revive at Linksy. So for a duo to get as many kills as they possibly can, that is the goal, to stay alive for as long as they possibly can. And so far, they are being successful. You can kind of maybe question the earlier and mid-game of Day Trade, the positioning outside of Milta, but Norans and Balmoth playing this really, really well in terms of the compounds. A couple of teams have already looked at them. You know, Team Bliss came close. Senjo now as Niall, the last word of life for Team Extraordinaire. So Kang and Linksy, you know, technically it's in a 2 versus 2 now, but Balmoth and Norans in opposite buildings. We switch over to Datblue. He was the solo. Now no more. Ranger X finding that kill. Big for Theraton 5. That means Unicorn Phoenix are out. No placement points for them this game. And the duo of Day Trade have outlasted the squad of Unicorn Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, that's not going to help them catch up to Day Trade. It was one thing that we were sort of talking about at the start of the map. Maybe today could be the day for Unicorn Phoenix and Day Trade slowed down, but it doesn't really seem like that's going to be the case. Day Trade, despite some awkwardness in Milta early on, going down to 2 players early, have still managed to hold on to Nurans and Belmoth, and to be honest, Nurans pretty cracked at the moment. He's been doing some real damage for his squad, and he could do exactly that onto Senjo right now, who have at least managed to get Linksy back up. It is the 2-on-2.
That's a big
Zone's moved away from him, though, so this is fighting over the scraps once again, and Nurans, he's just again and again and again proving why he deserves to be maybe in that Nations Cup discussion, I think.
Definitely. And I think right now you'd back him in against Kang. Kang just seemingly doesn't have quite the information. Careful of Belmoth, maybe looking to peek out. Now that's a freebie. Belmoth just actually staring in the wrong direction has allowed Kang on the backside. Really good positioning from Kang. Knows. Now he's in a 1 versus 1 and spots Nurans inside of the window. Really well played by Kang. Did something a bit different. That's the most critical part there, Alfish, is the fact that he did something a little different rather than continuing in that same direction. The direction we saw Linksy pushing in. He's like, I'll go around the backside. I'll look for the second guy first. And then you come inside the building, you get the other guy. Really, really well played from Kang.
Hey, I mean, he's basically 2v1, 2 of the top 3 players in the competition at the moment, so you have to give him some credit there. Noran's sitting in second, Belmoth sitting in third. And, of course, Flash right up on top for Day Trade. It's all Day Trade, but maybe not in game number 1 of the evening. Who wins from here? Alter Ego, obviously, has to be on the tip of your lips. They've been sitting inside of that compound for a very long time now. This is probably the 4th or 5th circle shift that has been favorable for them. They've got 4 kills as well. I mean, they've been chiming in, right? They've been doing some damage, which is definitely great to see. They're a team that needs points on the board at the moment, sitting down in 14th. And a lot of the times when you're getting fed this hard, you don't always pick up the kills. But it looks like they're finding ways to be active and be able to find some inroads. Kang on his way across to try to breach Team Bliss. Not sure that's going to work out for him in a 1-on-3.
Yeah, a lot to fight for, though, now for Theraton 5 and Team Bliss, as we see Kang push up close. Did get the knock onto Mirage, but Brim was there to provide the trade. But I'm just thinking the positioning here for Team Bliss, it's horrendous, unfortunately, for them, but the Blues right at their back. There's just not much that they're going to be able to do. You got Theraton 5 looking in that direction, and yeah, Mirage does go down. And as soon as you push out behind that Wizzy Tower, or in front of that Wizzy Tower, you are being met by the sides of Theraton 5 and or Alter Ego. Now, the same is going to happen to Theraton 5, basically. I mean, this game is over.
Yes, it is. It is. I think this game was over maybe 5 or 10 minutes ago, to be honest, when Alter Ego was the only team inside of a completely open zone with a compound to play from. Not that it was unlosable. Yeah, sure, someone could have breached them, tried to play aggressive and caused a bit of a ruckus, but no one did that. And so Alter Ego, obviously, they play with what was given to them.
Yep.
And that's all you can do, really. The thing is, you pretty much have to take advantage of a game like this because by the law of averages, every team's going to get a game like this or 2 throughout a season. And if you don't convert it, that's where the real problem sort of actually does arise. But given the fact that they've been able to, get it done pretty comfortably here, Alter Ego, you'll take those points and think to work a little bit harder in the next game. Because, look, they're still sitting quite far down the standings. This is going to get them another 3 points from the kills, you might assume, plus a few more placement points, and should be enough maybe to jump them up into the territory that NRX is occupying at the moment, but still a lot of work to do to get anywhere substantially worth talking about.
And there is a bit to fight for the duo here of Theraton 5. There's absolutely zero reason to go to the blue. None. You need to fight, you need to move, you need to crawl, do whatever you can to survive.
Get that kill on Duckmai.
Whether you get the kill onto Duckmai or even Alter Ego gets the kill onto Duckmai, try and get that second place finish. That's the biggest thing. Unfortunately, we have the answer. The Duckmai is in a pretty decent spot, and it's Theraton 5 that are looking a little bit more likely to be knocked out in third. Regardless of the work that they've done to get to these positions, Exquisite does go down to 1, 2, 3, 4. Who now makes it 4 kills for himself. Can he find it 5 for the 1, 2, 3, 4,
wow.
5?
I mean, what a fantastic job being done right now, by the way, by Duckmai. He has been solo for 15 minutes. Could get himself an org.
Well,
I reckon he's looking good for a second here. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, he's also in the same position as Theraton 5, right? Like, even going up against a 1v4 of Ulti. Oh, he got spotted. He got spotted. And that's why Theraton 5 did not give up on the play. Ranger X and Exquisite have got Theraton 5 into second place this game, where they could have easily given up a little bit earlier, taken third. They fought to the end as hard as they could. It was always going to be Alter Ego, though, from that kind of position with that kind of circle.
Yeah, not really sure what to say about it. I mean, they're obviously pleased, but they're not jumping up and down with joy, because I think they knew that that one was going their way for probably a good 10 or 15 minutes. Nice win on the board, though, for Alter Ego. They definitely needed something to get going this week, and actually, to be honest, in general, it's been pretty tough going for Alter Ego. They came out of last week in second last place. They're sitting in second last place overall for the competition, and they were sitting there after yesterday in terms of the week 2 standings as well. But they're probably sitting up in first in terms of today's standings so far. A win on the board, always good to see, and hopefully that can be converted into something a little bit more as well. Obviously, a one-hit wonder, it's fantastic, but are you going to be able to build a career off it? I'm not so sure. Need to see a bit more from Alter Ego here if they're to continue to climb up the standings.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, you can only do so much with what you've been given. In this instance, for Alter Ego, you've been given a pretty good circle, and they took advantage of it. You brought up a good point. You know, sometimes you get those kind of circles, you don't really find too many kills. We've seen teams win in the past with like 1 to 3 kills with that kind of finish, and they ended up with a much larger number. So, well played to them. Of course, more storylines coming out of this game, though, right? Elsewhere on the standings, away from the winners themselves. Team Bliss, 4th place. We had, what was it, Theraton 5 in 2nd place, so big points being able to be, you know, gained by teams still vying for even 2nd place. That is, you know, really in their sights now. It's only a 16-point gap for Theraton 5 to Unicorn Phoenix, and that race for 1st place, like we said, yeah, very much a one-horse race at this point, unless something crazy happens, and that's one more game, one less game for something crazy to happen in. So Team Bliss, Theraton 5, you know, licking their lips at that chance at 2nd place.
100%. I mean, it's not just the money either, is it? It's 120 PGC points, which is a pretty hefty margin over the 96 that you get for 3rd, and obviously it continues to fall as you go deeper and deeper into the standings. And look, the money is nice, but I think for the most part, a lot of teams are going to be thinking about those PGC points, while PGC is obviously still a while away, you know, toward the end of the year. The work that you put in at the start of the year can really make your job a lot easier or a lot more difficult heading into PCS7, right? We saw this from last year, for example. Buriram was able to win. They won PCS4, if I remember correctly, and then they didn't even play PCS5, and they were already at PGC because of that automatic spot. That's not necessarily going to be the case this year, although, you know, the 200 points potentially that you pick up out of PCS6 could be enough to still get you through to PGC. But you know, for Team Bliss and maybe for Theraton 5 and obviously even for Day Trade, these are teams now that are looking like they're going to be gunning for those positions. And in order to do that, you want to be getting as many points on the board as early as possible make your life a little bit easier. You don't want to be getting into a situation like last year where certain teams, they like needed to come first in PCS5 or PCS whatever to get through to PGC, and they weren't able to do that, obviously. So end of the day, look, obviously everyone's looking for as much as they can get out of any given point, out of any given day, and at the moment certain teams are doing pretty good job of that, and it's quite interesting that we've got such a tight sort of a finish towards the top 2 places at least, rather than the top 1.
I mean, you would think for day trade, 200 points if they do in fact obviously close out here for PCS6 going into tomorrow in that first place. 200 points probably good enough to get you through into PGC, provided you get minimal points in PCS7. So really, you actually look at it as qualify for PCS7, you're good to go probably. I can't imagine that would be, say, finishing too low, that the points wouldn't add up to a number big enough to get into PGC. Alter Ego, of course, player of the match. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Couldn't find 5 kills for the numbers there. 19 total points, so 9 kill points despite the, quote-unquote feed that they got, and obviously they did. There's really nothing too bad to say about it, but they still got the kill points. That's where you can really look at the team and say, okay, they did as much as they could with what they were given in terms of the circle luck, and they really made it work. As I said, so many times we see teams end up in a position where their compound gets hard-fed and they walk away with 2 or 3 kills, and you kind of question a little bit, did they really work as hard as they could to have got more? And I think Alter Ego certainly did. Luxurious Esports, I think probably a team on the other end of the spectrum there to Alter Ego in that particular game. They fought hard over towards Milta for the majority of the middle portion of that game. You could see that there with their kill points. Of course, then went out early because of the positioning. There's the total leaderboard now. Day trade up to 249 points. They are still increasing that gap to Unicorn Phoenix. Again, we can't really call it a done deal, but it is basically their race to win now. For Unicorn Phoenix, though, while Theraton 5 and Team Blizz breathing down their necks.
Well, I was asking the question at the halfway point, would Day Trade actually manage to have a 300-point tournament? Because that would be an average of 10 points a game, which is pretty astronomical still. And at the moment, it looks like they might even be able to get that one done today if they continue the trajectory that they've been having throughout the course of this tournament. If they have a 60-point day today, they're going to get it done. They're going to get it done 300 points in day 5, which would be absolutely insane. And then, who knows where they go from there. Sky's really the limit. The one thing I wanted to touch on there for Luxurious Esports in particular was only the 11 placement points for the competition as a whole. They've got 50 kill points, but they've only got 11 placement points. So they're probably leaning a little bit too hard on that kill point to sort of carry their standings, and they need to be getting themselves a little deeper into the game. It's no secret that they're being able to win the fights, it seems like. Obviously, they've got 50 kills. But are they, perhaps taking the fights that they should be, or can they try to maybe play a little bit safer, get a little bit deeper into the games and get some placement points out of it as well? Remains to be seen, but definitely need to be picking up that placement points tally a little bit if they want to get off the bottom of the scoreboard.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of surreal, right? Because we obviously weren't casting yesterday when Archangel Predator had their really, really good day. We come back and they go away again. That's just the way it kind of feels. Maybe they're just scared to come out and play when we're here. But yeah, it was a little disappointing to see that particular game just because of, we know again how good they are. And they, once again, showed it in day 1 of week 2.
Is it any wonder that yesterday was a 3 Miramar day as to why maybe Attack All Around had a bit of a better day?
In some cases, yes. In the other case, arguably their second best game of the night was on Erangel as well. 3rd place, 9 kills. So, yeah, I can definitely agree with you there. Obviously, their best game yesterday was the 2nd place finish with 12 kills on Miramar. But ultimately, I still don't know if it's really a map issue for Archangel Predator. We saw enough of them on both Miramar and Erangel over the course of the first week. And, yeah, not the best results. Team Extraordinaire... Well, I've been saying extraordinaire, but is it extraordinary, technically?
Well, no. Extraordinary, I think, would have a Y on the end. But I think it's just extraordinaire. That's how you spell extraordinaire.
Is it actually?
Yeah,
I'm not
believe it or not.
English or maths. Don't do English on stream then, apparently.
Yep. No, that's how you spell it.
Have they actually lived up to their name, though?
Well, you've thrown me a bit of a loaded question there. I guess no, in the sense that Extraordinaire would be like the best thing ever, probably. But I think they've lived up to the expectations at the very least. That's kind of where I want to take this one because, they're not a team that we've really seen a whole lot from. We don't know any of them coming into this season. So again, if it's your first season in PCS, we're not expecting you to sit up in the top 8 or even work your way into the top 5 or anything like that. This is about getting experience for that team through from Indonesia. And, you know, it's also about maybe putting your name up in lists to try and say, hey, pick me for the Nations Cup. I believe Indonesia have a slot now. So that's something to sort of think about as well, because I don't think when I look at the Indonesian region, I don't look at it and say, oh, this player has to go. Do you know what I mean? Like, you look at AU and you talk about Tig and maybe Flood and whatever, and you say, okay, this player's probably a lock. You can probably do the same thing for the Thai region at the moment with like Nuruns, Flash, Clories. These guys all having absolutely sick performances in PCS6. But when it comes to the Indonesian region, is there anyone putting their name up and putting their hand up and saying like, yeah, I'm going to be in that PNC team? At the moment, I don't know that there necessarily is.
Well, let's go into game 2 here for week 2 of day 2. Don't you just love that, Jordan, when it all lines up perfectly like that? Here, of course, off the back of an alter ego win, we'll see who can take the second game of Erangel. Well, they continue to find form and find results, even after slow starts in the game. Where they lost 2 players early on, they still had the other 2 get them placement points and kill points. So they continue ticking away at the top of the standings for Unicorn Phoenix. Not a great game. Not a great game. They had a couple of kills, Jordan, 4 kills, but no placement points. That's not going to be enough with the way that Team Bliss are playing, with the way that Teraton 5 are playing. Unicorn Phoenix need to find some form.
Certainly do. Quite a few teams looking to find some form today. I mean, that could be a really big difference maker if one of these teams picks the pace up pretty substantially here. Teraton 5, Unicorn Phoenix, Team Bliss, even Cerberus, maybe Day Trade. You know, it sort of just changes the way things do play out for tomorrow. Obviously, if Day Trade do it, you know, again, it's probably done and dusted like what we've been saying. But for any of the other 5 teams, obviously a big battle for second place. And further on, maybe still a battle for first. But I think I'm kind of trying to grasp at straws a little bit here, Xenox.
Yeah.
Trying to keep the dream alive. Janku, perhaps doing the same thing. Hasn't quite been able to have the success that he did at the start of the last game. And he's gone. So the Expendables, they're up a player this time.
Do you reckon there's at least one person that's tuned in being like, why are these guys not excited about the hot drop?
Maybe.
We've only seen it literally every single game. At this point, I don't even want to look at it anymore because it plays out actually almost the same every time. Well, not the same in a sense, but averages out that both of these 2 teams, someone's going to have a good game, someone's going to have a bad time. And yeah, and Flash does get run over. That's not ideal at all. But Day Trade have shown that their ability to have a decent game is not hinged on having all 4 players alive. And obviously, they have enough points in the bank, Jordan, where even if they get away nothing from this game, I still wouldn't be worried about them either, as we'll just sort of watch the Expendables and attack all around, play Roofy again, jump around the roof. I didn't know where I was going with that one or what to call it.
The Bajinki Playboys.
You could flip a coin and you'd get the same result as to these 2 teams. You just someone's going to win one game, someone's going to win the other game. It's been happening for too long now.
Are you suggesting this is a coin flip?
Honestly, yes. The answer is yes. This is a coin flip between these teams. And that's what makes it so interesting, but also difficult to judge it, right? A lot of the times when you see these hot drops, one team kind of gets beaten comfortably. Comfortably enough where you go to the other team and you say, all right, time for you guys to Vamos. Get out of here. You're not really doing enough to contest this. But attack all around, well, they've failed at doing a good enough job at obviously dealing with the Expendables because the Expendables are winning it more than enough times in Pachinki to claim the ability to keep coming back. Oh,
well, here comes a little bit of a interesting time. Glooms gets the knock, but Gems just gets a bit too over eager. 777, he was looking for that angle. They knew exactly where Gems was on top of that roof, and inevitably they're able to find that player. But Glooms, he wants the thirst. John is there. He's got the DBS. Jayers is not able to find the trade. Inevitably does manage to get it done for half a second, but the PP Bison comes out. And in the end, the Expendables, I think, will get all of their players back up, which is good news. It was their turn to win Pachinki.
I don't know how those DBS shots didn't land. It didn't really matter. As you said, Jordan, it was their turn to win Pachinki. Last game, it was AAA. This game is the Expendables.
That's how coin flip works.
Exactly.
One time it's heads, the next time it's tails.
Yeah, look, the Expendables, to their credit, I think coming into this event, have done actually their job. Obvious little battle. And this is the run over. I think.
This was from last game.
Oh, no,
this was
previous
from
match.
last game. Yeah. This was Mad Dog. Mad Dog was the one that looked like he was going to get run over. And then what happened? Nan must have crashed his UAZ. I remember this, right?
No.
Yes, this is what happened. He get knocked over by Belmoth.
Oh, jeez. We missed that one, didn't
This
we?
vehicular
That is
warfare.
actually awesome.
And then they have to jump out, and it's actually ultimately Nan that gets run over, not Mad Dog. It's like Demolition Derby.
I kind of wanted to see the...
Look at him. He's got, I don't know where to go.
Oh, jeez. Pixels away from getting
F's in
to...
chat.
Jeez, he's hunted them down. Well, I guess in some ways, though, the shoe's on the other foot now because Daytrader lost Flash to a run over. I guess we'll probably see the replay of Flash's elimination in the next game. That's probably how things will work out as we go to our leaderboard for the top 5 kills from our previous match. And it's an even spread of 4 across the board for our top 5. So you kind of look towards damage. And it's well, I was going to say it's almost tied between Sylphie and Kang. 586 to 568.
Wow, that's a miracle. That's a mathematical miracle. Love to see that one. Nice little 2-on-1 clutch from Kang. I'd have given him the MVP there for that.
Well, I think generally goes to the winning team, right?
It does go to the winning team. Yeah, you're right. I wonder how the overall MVP is calculated because, again, tying it into the PNC discussion, that is going to be a big deal, right? The country MVP for any respective region. For a lot of the regions, is just going to get one of those spots into the PUBG Nations Cup team. So how does that kind of get determined? Because there has been times where we've been here since day dot. We've been doing it since Charity Showdown, and sometimes the MVP gets chosen, and we might not necessarily agree with it as casters. So I would love to know what the thought process is, or what the what the stats are that play into that, and maybe that would give some of the players a bit of an idea as to what they need to be looking for as well.
You want the formula public? Is that
I want the formula, mate. I want the formula.
That's true. We don't actually even know the formula after all these years.
Is it like a collective vote that we're just not involved in?
Is there like a secret committee?
Yeah. Who's on the committee? I want to know.
It's not us.
It's not me.
I'd like to. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I feel like you get too many angry DMs if you chose wrong.
Really? I think it'd be the opposite. I think I'd get like bribed or something.
Yeah. Maybe.
Don't know if I could accept those though. Move over to Rozhog.
Of course, you're such an upstanding individual. Yeah.
Boundham United, Magic, Esport, renewing pleasantries. We saw it back, of course, on week 1, day 1, when they were both fighting over Rozhog, and Magic have, they've just kind of crept back over. Didn't work out for them, of course, when they were fighting it for control. Boundham United won those fights rather convincingly, and yeah, obviously Magic Esport gave up on it, but looks like they've just peeked over for a bit of revenge.
Yeah, I mean, this is unfortunate for Clories because he had such a great first week, didn't he? But it doesn't really seem to be coming together at all here in week 2. And I mean, BN United, they didn't have a great week 1, but they had a decent week 1. And slowly but surely, they're starting to slip down the standings. And this doesn't look like it's going to change up at all here as we see them obviously struggling already in game number 2 of today. They've lost, I would argue, their top fragger for this season so far in Clories already this game. They're trying to breach Leon's, but there's 4 Magic Esports players around. So if they get this wrong or they take too long, inevitably, BN United is going to lose another player. Leon's can't quite manage to get over the top of the railing. And in the end, he will be finished off by Sapao. So, look, a consolation prize, I suppose, for BN United. But are they going to walk out of this one alive? I don't think so.
It's a bit of a nothing kind of fight as well, being completely honest here for these two teams. And it's disappointing for Boundham United. Yes, they're still, 6th place overall, but it does kind of feel like, the likes of Attack All Around catching them, even Archangel Predator catching them up until today. So Power does get the knock on to Petret. But for Magic Esport as well, is this a fight they really need to be taking? They forced the hand. Now they've lost Leon's. Petret needs to be brought back up. And suddenly you start to question why they forced this in the first place. They, sort of just waddled over to Rozhog and like, yeah, let's have a scrap with Boundham United.
Well, the strange thing is they were fighting them for this drop location last week, and they were getting absolutely booked.
Yep.
And then they moved over to Watertown, and now they're sort of just back trying to have another scuffle with BN United. And it almost looked like maybe BN United was going to come away with it there with the couple of players that they did have alive. But now that it's down to Simon, as a solo, and Magic can manage to get those reses and heals off. Oh, it's going to be a little more difficult. Ion, he will be finished off. So it's not as if BN United is really just getting rocked here. They are still doing as much damage as they're receiving at this point. Cheeksing's going to give him another 1v1, I'd say, here.
Well, and this is, again, just bad for both teams, though. Obviously not much Boundham United, to be fair. They didn't force this. This was not on them. They do lose it as well. Yeah, that's so unfortunate for Boundham United.
Yeah, but you can see where that goes wrong, though. Like, Cheeksing, if he doesn't win that 1v1, there's another player lost for Magic.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But, I mean, regardless, for Boundham United, yeah, there's only, one player left. So even if you do somehow clutch up, go big, get the rest of Magic Esports, you get a couple of kills, and you've got one player left. So it's just disaster, really. As soon as Magic... Sure. Like, basically, it's like as soon as Magic Esports push over to Rozhok and say, we're going to fight this, both teams are not coming out alive happily.
Mutually assured destruction again and again and again. That's an interesting circle shift. Obviously, he didn't need to move away from the water. It was only the phase 2 shift, but we've gone straight away off of pretty much every single body of water. A lot of moving and shaking to be done for the teams out to the western side of the map.
Probably one of my favorite circles, I think. We don't see it as often as I'd like it. You know, Potato Hill and playing around it. Snakeway down below, School Apps above. There's still Pachinki Fields out towards the west. Really, probably only the eastern side of this phase 2 circle is a bit, like, you know, would say boring. Everything else, like north, south, middle, and west, is actually quite interesting as to how it can play out. So I do like this kind of circle. I always like seeing, you know, battles over towards Potato Hill, and even just sort of, it's like King of the Hill mentality, Jordan, right? Who can stay on top, who can win it. Then you got third parties. You know, there's not a lot of sort of like mega compounds besides obviously like School Apps and Pachinki. So it's a nice kind of circle. We'll see how teams do look to adapt. Of course, there were a lot of teams actually over towards Gatka Fields, I think, based on the phase 1 circle. So they'll take a little time to rotate into this one. But the other part of it as well is there's a decent enough you know, points of interest still available inside here for phase 2. So not expecting too much from phase 2 circle, but very keen to see what happens for phase 3.
Here comes Archangel Predator, looking to bounce back from the last game. Got 4 players alive this time, but they might be driving directly at Cerberus, and this is one of the awkward parts of this map where you go over the wrong ridge at the wrong time. You're running into 4 players, and they are going to delete you. Hey, Saki just couldn't quite land the spray onto Mad Dog. He's lucky to be alive, I'd say, but he's gotten across okay for now, and he's gotten the information there for Archangel Predator as well, that there is already a team here up on Potato Hill. Oh, this could be an awkward rotate for Therathon 5. Zone at their backs. They're going to cross the bridge that Magic is watching.
Yeah, but it's only a duo though, right? So it's not like they're a team that's going to be able to sort of fully contest as 4. And even then, though, to be fair, Magic have already shown that they're happy to be aggressive today in this game particularly. But it's a 4 versus 2 kind of expected, especially a top team like Theraton 5, to deal with them quite comfortably. It's not so much Magic. It's like, where do you go from in front of Magic? Unicorn Phoenix, controlling School and Apps. And also probably Apps is not very seen as the position to go right now based on the phase 2 circle. So it's more so just probably get into the circle, hold the outer edge, and then see what happens for phase 3.
100%, yeah. Just wait and see. I mean, if you have to breach Apps, you can breach Apps because there's obviously a lot of buildings that you can take, and even sometimes you can see multiple teams in the same building, worst case scenario. So if the circle moves back to the north, that could be an option if necessary. Magic Esports were the ones that were sort of forced away from Rozhok for a brief moment there, but they've taken up residence just outside of it. And I think we're probably not going to actually see too much fighting here for the next minute or so. No. Once we do see this next circle shift come on through, then yeah, maybe things start to get a little bit more interesting. But this was a circle rotation for most teams that was going to work out relatively comfortably because there's just so many compounds, so many places to play. But this now, this circle shift where teams are going to have to start to make their way up onto Potato Hill and around it, it doesn't leave a lot of room to work. If you're not already up there, if you haven't already locked down a position, oh, this is going to be a toughie.
So phase 3 circle is going Going to be very difficult. Yeah, a tough one indeed. Not a whole lot of compounds except for Snake Way, and that's about it. You're losing all of Apps and School. You're losing all of Pachinki. You've got the barns over towards the Pachinki fields, which the Expendables are currently inside of. Archangel Predator already on top of Potato Hill. There are downsides, though, to being the first team up there, as Hungvo Ditch has got Senjo right in front of him. Not a lot of help either. Dat Blue down straight away, courtesy of Reb. Now, Kang has been traded, though, immediately, and this is not clean from Senjo, because Hungvo Ditch has now got a second of the steal. Lynxie needs to get involved, throws out the smoke. Suddenly, it's turned around, courtesy of Hungvo Ditch, but he hasn't lasted for very long either.
They want revenge. They're not even coming here for the Resness at all. Hungvo Ditch and Datblue have been thirsted, but Unicorn Phoenix, they're not going to give it up so easily against Senjo. Theraton 5 are on the move out to the western side of the map as well. They don't have too many options. They were the team that really had to move the furthest, but that fight between Unicorn Phoenix and Senjo continues to rage. Shinvi down to 48 HP. Kang desperately low. Needs to get picked up pretty quickly. And you'd have to think Senjo's got to be walking away with at least one player getting dropped here. Oh. Unless Lynxie can pop off. Chu is still just alive, but Kang, yeah, he's going to drop. He's done. And now it gets a bit more difficult for Senjo as multiple teams start to look in their direction. Shinvi gets the better of a couple, and Senjo is eliminated. So Unicorn Phoenix survive with 2, and in the meanwhile, the Expendables have been breached by NRX, and, well, they might well find themselves getting breached by Theraton 5 in just a second. This is going to be a mess of a circle.
Rossiter Jr. just outside, throws in a nade. Duck Hughes outside. Theraton 5s. Rossiter Jr. able to just push in, get the easy down at the Maestro. There's another one, though, right next to him in Suzunami. Goes for the hipfire spray.
What's going on?
And that is a hipfire spray to be shown. Does get the down in the elimination. Took a little bit of time, though. But Theraton 5 won't mind. They get the kills. NRX Esports are out in 13th position. Now they can move on to cleaning up the rest of the Expendables. So this is a perfect third party from Theraton 5. They get the buildings. They get the possession. They get the kills.
Are they going to even try to push on to the Expendables, or are they going to just be happy with what they've got for the moment? They might have bigger fish to fry. A nice grenade from Rosita Jr. as Sylphie drops as soon as he arrives at the building. Now he's going to have to hold the fort alone. Another knock onto 74L1. Thank you very much for the 2 points. Luxurious Esports, once again, just taking one too many fights a little bit too early, and it has not worked out well at them at all. Theraton 5, they hold strong.
Oh, yeah, Levi's gets rid of smell. 8 kills now for the Expendables. So they get kill points from this game. They're probably not going to get placement points. I think Theraton 5 should be able to deal with Levi's. Rosita Jr. with a nade. Actually, I think this one's just outside of the room of Levi's. Molotov as well, inside of the wrong room. So a bit of wasted utility. At this point now for Theraton 5, they know he's in there. It'll be all about just grouping up, clearing each room, making sure they push together as a group and make this one virtually impossible for Levi's. That'll put Theraton 5 up to 7 kills. And you can see on the live standings to the left-hand side of your screen, it's now only a 12-point gap to Unicorn Phoenix. So, you know, if they find a win here in this game, which might be a bit more difficult, down to 3 players, that second place isn't too far away from being theirs. Now, on top of the draws is Levi's, and this is keeping him alive and away from the Molotovs on the floor. Monty has a bit of an angle and has sights on Theraton 5, but really not much to engage on.
Yeah, probably a bit ambitious. If you even were to get a knock, unlikely that you'd get the finish at a range like that. Could open the door up for a nice clutch from Levi's, though. He's just trying to keep his head down as much as possible. Smoke's all over the place. And, you know, the longer this takes, the worse it's going to get for Theraton 5, because I don't know if we really discussed it yet, but yeah, the zone has shifted away from him. It's gone a little bit further toward the eastern side. So Theraton 5, they can't hole up here. They did all that work to breach the compound, and it's 4-0. Good spray from Levi's.
Oh, this
and
could
maybe
be really
Solol's, he's in
trouble.
with a chance. The headshot connected onto Exquisite. That's going to be 1 down. Ranger X might have a bit of a difficulty surviving as well. He's 1 shot away from death too, but Sololzy, he's trying his best, and try as he might, he can't land that final shot. No luck this time, but it hasn't gone well for Theraton 5 regardless.
But Haisaki gets Rosita Jr. though on the other end of it. Monty steals that kill away, so it's only Ranger X that's left. He's the last one alive. So for Theraton 5, yeah, they picked up a few kills, but ultimately they're not going to be surviving much longer. Ranger X, you have to dip and bail, and he bails too late. Poochills will take the final kill of Theraton 5. They go out in 10th place. They got a couple of kills. They do close the gap to Unicorn Phoenix and extend the lead to Team Bliss. But Team Bliss is still alive with 4 players up, heading towards placement points. So that 10-point gap will get shortened.
I mean, that was just a cursed rotate, really, wasn't it? There was nothing Theraton 5 could have done. Everywhere they went, shots in their direction. They got absolutely booked before they even left the compound. It was bad from start to finish, and I think they're probably happy it's over, all things considered. The Expendables do get eliminated in 9th place, so they don't last too much longer either. And then the circle shift goes down south. Bliss will be absolutely pumped about that because they're probably in the best position now, holding the entire southern side of the zone. Day Trade, however, alongside Made in Thailand, also locking down some good buildings. And they have an equal opportunity to win this game from here, but they'll have to deal with all the teams coming down from the north.
Oh, Himas has a freebie here onto CJ, pinned behind the tree, but the rest of Archangel Predator behind Cerberus, so they're going to be very careful. Oh, never mind. Duckmine gets the down onto CJ. Still 2 players, though, for Archangel Predator pushing in behind. I believe that's Nan and Algin bots here on Potato Hill. You've also got Extraordinaire further past, and that blue is going to start moving soon. Neither of these teams are going to be happy with the current predicament that they find themselves in. I think at this point, because CJ and Mad Dog are dead, Algin bots and Nan are probably just waiting for Cerberus to come back to them before they start firing. Duckmai with a beautiful shot from the car gets rid of Algin bots. Nan gets run over by Sololzi. And in the end, Archangel Predator can't do a whole lot. 8th place, no kills either. So another rough game for them.
Yeah, hey, look, at least they get a placement point out of it. You take every little bit you can get at the moment. Cerberus need to do a bit of nursing duties onto Sololzi. He's been their top fragger for this game. 5 kills. He's been putting in the numbers. And now he's getting carried. He was the carrier, now he's getting carried. Can you believe it? It's poetry. But Cerberus have another thorn in their side. And that's the Extraordinaire guys who have just rocked up on the side of the hill here. And certainly going to be lurking. They seem to be very aware that Cerberus are quite close by.
Five kills for Sololzi, and yeah, down at the moment, so they obviously going to want to do everything they can to get him back up before this blue envelops this position for Cerberus and the rest of Potato Hill. So fortunately for them, Extraordinaire do move away. Sololzi, though, knocked back down by Monty as soon as he gets back up. And so they're going to have to just leave him now. Cerberus, 3 men inside of Adacia. Never really a good sign, but at this point, no other option. They send it down to the vault. Kid X is there. Who's going to actually win this fight, though? It's a 3-on-1. Kid X immediately taken down by him as... Oh, my goodness! Somehow, the majority of Cerberus avoiding that UAZ. Extraordinaire. I think the driver must have been one of their members who got shot out and sent a flying death wish over towards Cerberus. Now, Himas did get knocked down by it, but the other two are still up in Duckmai and Haisaki.
Oh, just doesn't quite go far enough. That would have been a sick grenade from downtown. But the big question is, where does this circle shift go? There's 3 teams that it could incredibly favor, and it's gone north. Day Trade and Made in Thailand are both still really happy about that. Even Unicorn Phoenix are keeping their heads down and getting some placement points out of this game. Very nice grenade from Nurans. He's got another one to follow up with it as well. And that looks to be a little bit too far.
This is good news, though, for Team Bliss. A lot of utility being thrown over towards Cerberus means when Team Bliss do push onto the compound at Day Trade, which I'm probably just expecting it may not happen, but that is something I do envision, then Day Trade may not have as much utility in form of nades and Molotovs to throw towards Team Bliss. Although, again, and they could just about do anything here, but I think that might be an option for them as Alter Ego still not inside of the circle. They will be pushing in towards Unicorn Phoenix and Made in Thailand. Day Trade, of course, the ones when you look at this circle here for Phase 6, they are in a great position. But remember, they've only got the 3 players. So Team Bliss, Made in Thailand, Alter Ego, the only 3 teams left that have all 4 players still alive.
More grenades getting tossed in the direction of Unicorn Phoenix this time, and they're going to respond in kind. Alter Ego might eat 1 or 2 of those. Oh, just doesn't manage to finish off Teddy, but Alter Ego having to move in with the zone. they're going to have to go through an onslaught of util. Molotov's landing right in front of them. The smokes are starting to fade. Unicorn Phoenix, they only have a couple of players up now, just the one, but Chu can still do damage here. If he even takes out one Alter Ego member, that could be curtains for their chances of winning this round. Again, another grenade. Again, another Molotov. How many have they got in the back pocket here, Unicorn Phoenix? And how long could Alter Ego survive against it? Shinvi, it doesn't look like he's going to get picked back on up.
Well, that UAZ blowing up is decent because now that's even better form of cover for Ju. So, yeah, I don't think Chu's going to be able to get Shinvi back up. And he's just dropping all of the utility that he has available so that Chu can utilize the majority of it as much as he possibly can before going down. And down he does go. And in the end, Alter Ego, to their credit, I know that it's like a 4v1, but they played it really well with the smokes pushing up to the Wizzy Tower. Not an easy game as Mirage with a big double nade onto Duckmire and to Haisaki. So 4 teams remaining now, and they're all pretty much healthy. Daytrade's the only team that is missing a player as 1, 2, 3, 4 knocked by Rogue Nansme.
I do have my concerns, though, for Team Bliss. Once Alter Ego gets themselves sorted, they are going to be able to have an angle onto Team Bliss, but obviously they're getting gatekept a little bit by Daytrade. I just worry in a situation like this, being the team right in the center of the circle, if all other teams around decide to ignore one another, they're all looking in your direction, right? So this could go wrong for Team Bliss if there's this sort of unspoken agreement between the rest.
Well, the circle could just also go for a bit of a center shift, forcing Daytrade out of the zone. Yep. And then Team Bliss gatekeeping them. And that's basically what's going to happen. Now, it's gone way more over towards Made in Thailand, though. So the idea is perfect from Team Bliss, and it still has kind of worked out for them. Had that been a shift onto Daytrade, it wouldn't have worked out at all. But it does mean that they can now gatekeep Daytrade. Daytrade have to push into Team Bliss, and that is a very difficult run to make. And seemingly, Team Bliss obviously not really in the sightlines of Made in Thailand either, the compound that they're sitting in. So I think this is actually going to work out pretty well for Team Bliss overall.
Yeah. I mean, the trees are doing a lot, and the Defilade obviously for Team Bliss. But they need to get through that fight against Daytrade cleanly if they want to win this one. I mean, Made in Thailand, you look at them and say, this probably should be theirs to walk away with now. They've got control of the buildings. They've got almost the high ground. Obviously, Alter Ego has it for the moment, but they're going to have to come down off of it. So it is definitely looking like it should be a bit favorable for Made in Thailand. And if anyone wants to beat them, you know, Team Bliss coming up, need to have 4 players alive. Alter Ego, they're going to try and put a number in onto Team Bliss, and they'll also have shots onto Daytrade in a second.
Oh, nice shots.
It's not a fun run at all here for Daytrade. I think this is probably where it ends for them. They've done a good job, though. They've made it into the top 4. 7 chicken dinners on the board already for them total, so they don't really need to do too much more. You know, they don't need any more wins. They just need to keep that scoreboard ticking over, and 4th place, that's good enough every single game from here for Daytrade.
Well, remember, they lost Flash immediately at the start of this game to a vehicle run over, so that it was literally a 3-man game for this one for them, and you make it to the top 4. I think 2 kills as well. Not a bad game. All it is about is just keep getting the points ticking over. And Belmoth actually now spoils the Team Bliss party by getting that down onto Monty. Did throw the nade. Mustn't have connected, or if it didn't do a whole lot of damage. Monty still alive, but I don't think he's going to be able to get brought back up as Jacob finds a knock here for Made in Thailand. They are in best position to come away with the win, and it would then keep Made in Thailand with a decent chance at still making top 5. If they can find victory here, they will keep in touch with Cerberus. Monty's gone, Alter Ego falling apart too. Insight and Bryn still alive. Bryn with a smoke that is dissipating at the tree. Does still need to find a way to push up towards this hill.
There's no way he's getting to Mirage safely right now. Made in Thailand, they've not been messing around. They've played this one really nicely. They haven't been lax and resting on their laurels. They've pushed out, taken control, and made a very comfortable victory their own. Made in Thailand, they got gifted a bit of a circle shift, but then they went to work. They didn't let that one play out around them. They were the major force. They were the driving factor in that game, and walk away with a solid victory. So very well done from Made in Thailand. Obviously, for Team Bliss taking 2nd. Not too bad. Alter Ego in 3rd. Daytrade 4th. It's been a good day, actually, so far for Alter Ego, you have to say. They had the 1st.
Yeah.
And now they've had the 3rd. So we're starting to see a bit of consistency come through for them, which is a good positive sign.
Certainly so. It gets them out of the bottom 4 as well, and I think that's really just the goal right now, is to try and avoid being one of the bottom teams, right? For Made in Thailand, though, with this victory, 11 kills, does keep them in touch with Cerberus. Only 17 points, Jordan, to that 5th place finish. So I think that's got to be the goal now. If you're Made in Thailand, if you're Baonam, and in some ways if you're Attack all around, the goal is to try and keep in touch with Cerberus going into tomorrow. Aim for that 5th place finish, because at the end of the day, I think any team that finishes top 5 should be pretty happy with the event as a whole. So for those teams, basically 6 to 9 or 10, wherever you want to sort of put the cutoff, that is the goal. Keep in touch with Cerberus, go into tomorrow, see if you can overtake them, see if you can get that 5th place. But in terms of the top 4, it does look like it's all pretty much locked up. And while now there's been some shaking and moving, Team Bliss into 3rd place. It's been a while since Theraton 5 have given up top 3, but they do so now. 1 point is the difference between those two teams, and Team Bliss 13 points behind Unicorn Phoenix. So the battle for 2nd is really heating up.
Yeah, they are creeping closer and closer and closer to 2nd place, aren't they? Still not really managing to do much to gain ground on day trade gaming, and again, that's not really expected of them, but it's something to still sort of be aware of. Touching on Made in Thailand for a moment there, they did have a really rough day yesterday, Zenox, so it's kind of nice to see them being able to turn it around today. I don't even think that the story yesterday for them was like trying to fight for 5th. It was very much that they were pretty much there. Yeah. It's just that they had a horrible day yesterday and they fell off the horse a little bit, but they're picking it back up. Good win there in the 2nd game of the day, and hopefully a little bit more of that to come.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the thing about the nature of, the Super Point rule set, also this region as well. You can kind of go on a little run. You can have a solid day where you go and pick up, 50, 60 points, even if maybe you're only averaging 20, 30, 40 points, for example. And I think Made in Thailand's a good enough team where they can get those kind of number of points and have a good day to kind of keep them in contention for these kind of positions. And also, it does come down a little bit to Cerberus, right, in this instance too, where I think at the moment hasn't been a bad week 2, 46 points so far. You look at Made in Thailand, 41 points. So they're just kind of keeping in touch with Cerberus, keeps that door ajar now, especially with the result here at the conclusion of the 7th round here of week 2. And Thanawa is going to be the player of the match. 4 kills, again, nothing special really when it does come to sort of these individual highlights from this game, Jordan, but ultimately for Made in Thailand, yeah, a little bit of circle luck, but also similar to Alter Ego in the 1st round, whereby they also got a lot of kills.
Yeah, indeed. It's good to see the individual stepping up, and you want to be seeing it for all those teams in the top 5. Again, bearing in mind that these might be the building blocks of the teams that we go to see over in PGC later on in the year, and the APAC region needs good, strong representation, and maybe a team like Made in Thailand could be one of those to head on over in that direction. But bigger discussion, later discussion. Obviously, for that last match, 21 points out of it, 11 kills, 10 points for the placements. Obviously, really, really good stuff from them. Bliss, Cerberus, Expendables, Alter Ego, all chiming in with a decent amount there. 8 kill points for the Expendables, but 0 placement points. It's unfortunate how that sometimes plays out, but there you go. We've got one more game of Erangel to go today, and then we're back over onto Miramar. So maybe for the Expendables and for Attack all around, they'll be looking forward to match 24.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a chance for those teams in particular to keep fighting, right? And that's the biggest thing, is all about keep fighting for the Expendables. Well, it literally is keep fighting for Pachinki, right? Like, that's all we're going to really expect of them. Of course, only one more game of the Pachinki battle of Erangel for today, and then we'll switch over to Miramar. So 3 more games to go. We'll go to a short break. On the other side, we'll continue on.
살려줘. 그거 다 죽었다. 아, 진짜 미치겠다.
I know what you really want. Turn it up and give it down. Maybe we're in paradise. I'm feeling like a hero. Turn it up and do or die. Everything is on the line. I'm feeling like a hero. Turn it up and do or die. Maybe we're in paradise. I'm feeling like a hero. I'm feeling like a hero. I'm feeling like a hero.
Born ready.
One more game of Erangel here for week 2, day 2. It is still very much day trade leading, and nothing's really changed on that 70-point gap, Jordan. But the battle for second is looking very, very good. Unicorn Phoenix only now 13 points in front of Team Bliss. They're at 5, of course, then only 1 point behind Team Bliss as well. So really, when you look at second, third, and fourth, it is really a race.
Yeah, very, very tight between those 4 teams. And look, I think you can maybe even throw Cerberus in there as well. If they start to put a good game on the board, you know, realistically speaking, they're at, what, a 32-point deficit behind Unicorn Phoenix. You have, like, let's say 1 or 2 really good games. That's going to be overcomable. You can put together 20 points in a day, or 20 points in a game, I should say. 40-plus points in 2 games if they're 2 really, really good games. So it's not out of the realms of possibility for them. For BN United, you know, a very interesting team to talk about because they have a bit of work to do in turning around week 2. I don't know what's happened between week 1 and week 2 for BN United, but it has gone from being perfectly adequate or even pretty good. They got 102 points in week 1 to now, well, not quite halfway through week 2, but after this game, we will be about halfway through week 2. And they've only put 22 points on the board so far. So it's just been a massive, massive change up for BN United, and not for the right reasons, unfortunately. And I had high hopes for this roster. I was really, really looking forward to watching them play. They have a lot of experienced members in there. They had a lot of good players coming through. You obviously had Simon and Zest, who came through from that former BN United roster that was really good here in APAC as well. And just hasn't really come together as a squad, it seems like. You've had good individual performances, mostly from Clories, but as a general rule, it maybe hasn't quite lived up to my hopes, at least.
No, 100%. When you kind of, I guess, want to look at a way to signify the drop-off, they were 6th place. They were 30 points or so behind Unicorn Phoenix. Well, now they've dropped to 7th. So obviously, in terms of positioning, haven't dropped that much. But they're 60-something points now behind Unicorn Phoenix. So that gap has doubled, basically, from week 1 now going into week 2. So yeah, and one of the biggest talking points last week for BN United was the placement points, right? And that has also continued to be an issue for them, is finding placement points. They've got the kill points. That's been all, you know, well and dandy, but placement points has eluded them. For Magic Esports, honestly, not a bad little stage that it's shaping up. Into 9th place now. They were 9th at the end of week 1, 9th here for week 2. So 9th is probably about right for them. You know, kind of that halfway mark in terms of this lobby. Remembering they also wasted 3 games in week 1 on Erangel, where they tried to contest for Rozhok. If you give them 3 more games on top of everyone else, suddenly they're a team that's looking like almost top 6, top 7. So I think a pretty good stage so far for Magic Esports as we head into our final game of Erangel here for week 2, day 2.
All right, well, what are the big things to look at here on Erangel for the final game of this evening on this map? I guess the first port of call, of course, is always going to be toward Pachinki, to see whether or not Attack All Around and the Expendables are going to have another go at one another. And just based on the drop, it looks like that is very much going to be the case. For BN United, no worries about them dealing with Magic Esports over by Rozhok this time. You can already see Magic Esports has dropped out over the prison area. Luxurious Theraton 5 will be the last couple of teams to exit the plane, but normally they're able to coexist pretty happily. This, however, is where things get a bit interesting as, again, we turn our attention toward Pachinki early on in the piece.
Who have you got? Have you flipped a coin?
It's Attack All Around's turn, isn't it? So
right, okay. Yeah, I forgot. I mean, sometimes they can go back and forth too. You know, you get 2, we get 2. That can also...
They're punching.
Oh, no.
They're having a punch on. I think they're burning in a molly or something as well. Janku has managed to find the weapon. He's going to get 2 here.
He has...
Reload it, son!
He has saved JS, but yeah, you know, you said it was Attack All Around's turn while they're showing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, like, it's literally gone 1 for 1 pretty much every single time, I feel. It's just been Attack All Around, won the first game. All right, well, then the Expendables are going to win that second, and now it's Attack All Around's turn again. The big thing here, though, is going to be making sure you don't drop a player. If Attack All Around can get out of this with 4 alive, then they can actually play a real game of Erangel. And we've seen they can do damage on that as well, but unfortunately, Jays is going to be knocked and almost definitely should be finished off there as well. He actually ends up dying to his own grenade, which he was holding as he got knocked. So there you go. It's just chaos again ensuing.
Yeah. And it just means, of course, I mean, like you kind of said there, being able to play a normal game was on the cards, now no longer. You've only got the 3, and it could get worse. It very much could get worse. There's a lot less to lose now for Jun and for Levi's. They can just look to really punish Attack All Around as much as they possibly can. And both teams have done this, like throughout the entire event. You know, when Attack All Around are down to a player or 2, they play the same strategy. It's just to try and hinder the Expendables moving forward. Neither of these 2 teams. And yet, despite this, you know, both teams 8th and 10th, right? Basically same amount of points. You do have to wonder where they would actually be at if they were playing separately, if they didn't have these hot drops.
Yeah, it really makes you think. And it's not as if either of these teams are bad teams. You know what I mean? Like Attack All Around, they've been up in the top 8 for 2 seasons in a row. The Expendables, I know, were not in last season. They have had a couple of seasons out of PCS, but they were here a couple of seasons ago with at least 1 or 2 of the members that they've got here in PCS6. It's not like these are teams that are just, you know, new to the lobby, sort of here for experience, blah, blah, blah. These are teams that are very real competitors. Attack All Around especially, I was really looking forward to seeing what they could do this season. And yeah, I mean, I guess they're doing okay. 8th is not bad. But I would have liked to have seen them in that race for 2nd place. I think that's more so where they not necessarily deserve to be per se, but
it's where they need to be.
It's where they should be. They've had this is now, I think, their 3rd season in PCS, and this is their 3rd season as well without a roster change. So that's at the point where, like, very similar to Day Trade, you're saying, okay, you've had your time now to get experience and to get prepared and whatever.
Was that including the QC roster?
No, not including the Q Confirm roster, which wasn't exactly the same as this one, but it had
2
Gems and Jayas, if I remember correctly. So, you know, it's not as if these guys have not been around the block.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you there. Definitely feel like they should have been aiming for, you know, being in that top 5. Yeah, fighting for that 2nd place. And it's not a horrible season for them, 8th place, and maybe still a chance to get that 7th spot, maybe even 6th if they're really lucky and turn their fortunes around. Now, Tede's going to be a little bit careful here because he's got a lot of Archangel Predator members in front of him. He gets one down. Honestly, almost got the second as well. This is just how it's going from bad to worse for Archangel Predator.
Yeah, Algen bots might be resable. Mad Dog's going to go ahead and whack the smoke down on the ground and probably look for that quick res. This grenade not going to amount to a whole lot. You know, the Pajinki hot drops are not always the most enjoyable, just because they're very slow sometimes, aren't they? Because there could be literally around any corner. There could be a player anywhere. You have no idea, and you don't want to walk around that corner and make the mistake. CJ fighting hard right now, getting a bit of backup from Mad Dog, and I'd say this is a bit more of an enticing fight at the moment. That is a great grenade coming through from Anang Tipi. And he'll follow it up with a second as well. Could be the end of CJ18. It is. In the meanwhile, Algen Bots has pushed through as smoke and gotten the better of 1, 2, 3, 4. Nan finds another. And Archangel Predator do appear to be getting the better of this engagement. Mad Dog, a couple of taps through, but in the end, he won't be the one to find the frag. It's madness over in Pachinki. And the Expendables are eliminated, but Attack all around have lost 2 players. They lost 2 players.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think they lost Jayers earlier, right?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, they've lost Gems there in that little exchange, looking to clear out the last 2. And now they walk away with 2 players alive for the remainder of the game. But you do get the 4 kills, of course, from that. So 2 for 4 in the end, as Leons and Magic Esport have crept up on Archangel Predator, smelling blood in the water like sharks, making their way over to Lumbermill. Now, we haven't actually really touched on the circle, but Lumbermill is the heart of this circle, essentially. Well, not quite the heart of it, but again, we are seeing yet another Erangel game, Jordan, down towards that sort of Milta, Prison, Lumbermill Farm kind of area of the map, basically the southeast. I feel like in some ways we've been a little robbed this whole stage because we haven't really gone to too many places on Erangel. We continue to go down to the southeast.
Man making footsteps. Petret is going to hear those and get the headshot across, but no finishing blow. Yeah, we have seen a lot of zones around here, and a nice nade does land on top of Nan. Algen Bots can't quite get the 2-man spray down. And so Archangel Predator, this third party coming through, might be just a little bit too much for them to deal with. Mad Dog will just depart, I'd say.
Yeah, unfortunate for Archangel Predator. In some ways, they actually didn't start any of those conflicts. And while they did an okay job in fighting back against the Alter Ego and, ultimately winning that battle, just a bad timing where Magic Esport then pushed on top of them as well. So not a whole lot you could really expect from the Philippine team, but unfortunately 4 kills, 1 player alive. And not much to really show for the remainder of this game now, you would have to think, for a team that has continued to struggle here of day 2, week 2. We look at the kill leaders here from game number 5, game number 22 of day 5 for our top 5. Sololsi had the majority of the kills when it came to decent damage portion, though. Thanawa on 542 with good ratios.
Yeah, 4 kills across the board there, apart from Sololsi. Made in Thailand would love another feed. They'd love another circle shift to go in their direction. And they're not in an awful spot. Still obviously very early days. And we've actually had that discussion a lot in the past around phase 1. Does it really matter too much if you get that initial circle shift? It's not normally the most influential. It's obviously nice. It means you don't have to move. You can spend a little bit more time looting. But if you were going to choose a circle shift to get, you'd probably rather get, maybe 5 or 6. Rather than number 1 or 2. Not much to do at the moment for Made in Thailand, though.
Yeah, at this point, not much to do, really, for the majority of the teams, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Just this kind of
early
circle.
Days.
Yeah, very early days. Still 45 seconds until phase 2. We look at Team Bliss, who... well, they've done a decent job in getting into the top 3. It hasn't been an easy path for them, Jordan. Week 1, they were in the top 5. They finished 5th, but they were, a little bit away from Theraton 5 and 3rd. I think it was about 20 point or so gap. And they've done a very good job here for week 2. So far, they've been the second best team here for week 2. In fact, only 5 points off day trade for week 2.
What's going on?
So as this is a weird exchange. Nam Zhao has taken down Maestro and Cab as well. and that's the end of it.
It was like they couldn't find Cap, but inevitably the grenade got him in the end.
That's a weird fight.
Weird fight. I thought I knew what was going on, and then I thought I didn't know what was going on, and then what I thought initially was correct. But BN United.
Oh, Glories!
Glories! He's popping off again. Oh, come on.
Oh.
You'd love to see him hit that third shot there.
Yeah.
Third player.
Well,
BN United's not done yet, so Powell's on the chase.
Yeah, that's awful for NRX. That was a very strange engagement. Overall, start to finish, including the end there, because like the position for these two teams, not even remotely close to being anywhere impactful regarding the circle. And yeah, just a strange one. How that's kind of even developed, and yeah, well done to Glorious with a big nade. Although the hero might go down to Hung Vo Ditch with the MK14. Lands a shot, couldn't land anymore after that. Fortunately for Balnam United, Glorious is able to stay on his feet into the vehicle, and they can get rotating. As are Day Trade. Over towards the beach of Milta. We did get that phase 2 circle shift. It's on top of Farm and Snake Way. Potato Hill still in as well. Shelter still a little bit in, but it's on the edge of the circle out east. And it's made in Thailand over towards that farm position. They are the benefactors here for phase 2.
This is potentially going to be a very similar finish to the last game that we saw. Luxurious Esports trying to look for somewhere to hole up. Already good shots coming through from Rogue. Smell an inch away from death, but... Oh, never mind, Sololzi. He's found an angle to sneak one in. I thought he was going to be safe when Rogue ran out of bullets there, but Smell, he's going to be finished off, I'd say, and indeed is. No chance to turn around for Luxurious Esports and get the smokes down or anything like that. Magic are on their way in as well, or rather out of Milta. They're going to crash into the building that Lynxie and Reb are holding down. It's time for Kang to step up, helps them out. Reb's got one or two. Has run out of ammo though, and inevitably does get rushed down. Where is Lynxie in all of this? Looks like he might have been downed as well. Guess you commit enough numbers, inevitably you're going to overrun the couple that are inside of the building. We'll hold that thought for a moment though, because Luxurious are trying to hang on. It's just NBK left alive here.
Yeah, only 2 more smokes as well, so really needs to get a wriggle on in dealing with the other members of Cerberus here. He can't really... Oh, never mind. He's been able to find a couple of nades, so now can actually get on the attack a little bit. Duckmai watching, so he can't really make a play here. They can get the revives. Now, Senjo coming over to try and aid Lynxie, who is down. Steel and Kang to try and finish off the remainder of Magic Esports. Speaking of being finished off, Hisaki does get rid of Luxurious Esports.
Well, Lynxie actually does get knocked down, and Steel also as well. So Leon's has just stepped up absolutely massive for his side. It's on to Kang again. He's going to have to pull off another 1-on-2. But he's completely locked inside of this room. There's a UAS right outside. He cannot walk out the door. Petret eating some shots from Day Trade. And the grenades are starting to get tossed into the room that Kang is hiding inside of. Nothing he can do about it. And eventually, Magic Esports will walk away with the victory.
Really well played, though, by Magic. Again, I mean, as a duo, to deal with all of Senjo like that convincingly, too. So really, really well played. Senjo will probably be a little bit frustrated with how that ended. But what can you do? Sometimes you just get outplayed, and you have to give credit to the opposing team. Well played to Magic Esport, who, you know, continue to do well here for PCS6, as Glooms saw Mad Dog on the edge of that building, but Mad Dog having none of it and just gets out of there. Day Trader made in Thailand, though, over towards Farm. Now, this could be a big, big fight. Made in Thailand, 6th place at the moment, 20 points behind Cerberus. They do not want to go out this early, no kills on a circle this good. Farm is the center point here for phase 3. They need to defend this and against multiple teams.
Oh, the grenade could do a bit of damage here. How eats the majority of it. He was already knocked, though, and Made in Thailand will finish it off onto at least the first member of Team Extraordinaire. Rotation attempt is coming through from Danawa, but he chose the wrong timing, and Kidex will punish him for it. Trikamata got a tickle of damage in there or so. And now Rogue has to deal with Puchils. He'll be hearing him stomping around inside of this building. Door gets closed. But does Puchils know that Rogue is up the top? Seems like he does. He's watching the stairs.
I mean, watching the stairs is one thing, and knowing 100% someone's up there is another thing. Ideal for Made in Thailand, losing a player this early on in the piece. Still only 15 minutes has elapsed. That's a tree. As Pathampong needs to watch out for that one, and just causes Theraton 5 to be delayed in getting over to the building here at the edge of farm. And Rogue Nansby has been taken down by Daytrade, who are doing a very good job of clearing out Made in Thailand. Daytrade are just having their way over towards farm. They've pushed in. They don't even have Flash actually there inside of the compound directly. He's a little bit to the southwest. So Daytrade really doing this with ease at the moment.
Well, move back over to the quieter side of the circle for the moment. Team Bliss, a much different avenue of attack for them this time. They're not center. They're going to be playing edge. They're actually going to pull up right above Unicorn Phoenix, and this might be a good timing to do so as well. Unicorn Phoenix have just lost Shinvi. If Team Bliss is aware that they're here, which they are, Monty's firing some shots in that direction, then this is the perfect third-party opportunity. With that said, Insight just out in the open, completely decimated by Datblue, maybe not expecting him to be that close. That's already an early loss for Team Bliss in a situation that ideally wouldn't have warranted it.
Yeah, and they're in a rough position as well up north. Boundham United close by. Circle's not too bad for them if they can deal with the ensuing teams close by to them. But yeah, I mean, losing a player this early, especially a player of Insight's caliber, and that farm position again just continues to, be the hot spot, or the sort of presumable hot spot towards the end of this game. Phase 4 now. Most teams are going to look to try and force their way in there, just squeeze in if they can. Especially the teams out towards the west, Cerberus, attack all around. Where do they go now? Do they just push in up north, try to be the team's third partying onto Unicorn Phoenix, Team Bliss, and Boundham United? That can be a play. 12 teams, 32 alive here going into Phase 4. Monty on the move now. Clories takes a few shots. No, none of them landing, though. 4 kills for Clories. Of course, we saw that big nade earlier. So having a big game here for Boundham United, who desperately need to find some form.
Well, Monty has managed to get himself right in front of Unicorn Phoenix's rotate. He spotted them out as well. The grenade in hand. It could be a big one. Tosses it across. Datblue has eaten the majority of the damage from it, but will not go down. Humbo Ditch looks for a little bit of a flanking angle, but there'll be a grenade to greet him. Monty, that one is perfect. And he's got another in the back pocket. That's his last bar, maybe a Molotov. And he's caught another one. He's gone bowling.
Monty!
And he's found both. Datblue and Hungvo Ditch will be taking no more part in this game.
A little 1-2 punch from Monty. I mean, even the initial first nade, did a little bit of damage too. That one landing. So 3 really well-placed nades by Monty. A big kill. And for Unicorn Phoenix too. Like, that's the other part of the story there, Jordan, right? You're getting rid of Unicorn Phoenix, the team you're trying to catch. And Daytrade, of course, happy with that too. I mean, at any time that Unicorn Phoenix go out, it just makes their life even easier and easier. So Team Bliss, they find another kill. They are down to 3 though, remembering that. Whereas Theraton 5, inside a farm, have all 4 players up. So keep an eye on Team Bliss and Theraton 5 this game.
For sure. They're going to be keeping an eye on one another, I dare say. Counting that kill feed. I wonder if Team Bliss is going to run into a team here. There's not a whole lot of real estate to really work with, so are they just going to send it at the farm? They're going to go past, they're going to go around. Remember, they're down to the 3, so they aren't at full fighting force right now, and they've just decided to rock up at a shack. Saw how that worked out for Archangel Predator the last time. Oh, and a couple of nice shots in there from Jacob and Pathampong. Will be the end of Bryn. Should get rezzed.
Phase 5, though, do we just stay on top of farm directly? Well, not necessarily. Does kind of leave the door ajar now for, 6, 7, 8 to kind of shift away from farm. Leon's pushing out and got the headshot onto Janku. Magic Esports continue to do well when they are not at full strength. And I think that's probably been the strength of this roster, is whether it's 1, 2, or 3 players, they play well. But we haven't really ever seen Magic Esports actually dominate with all 4 players and, you know, go on and win games with a full strength squad. They do. They're a bit of a scrappy team, I guess, where they just get the kills under not ideal circumstances. Now, Glooms is very much dead. Yeah. Before he was even dead, he was dead, Jordan. That's how dead he was.
You're all over it. Future seer Xenox. Anyone wants to know what day they die or how many kids they're going to have? At XenoxCasts on Twitter. Slide into those DMs.
2 kids for you, Jordan.
2 for me.
2.
2 too many, I think.
Well, no surprise to see the way that Farm has sort of played out. Most teams trying to get over here. So we've got 4 directly inside of Farm. Team Bliss not too far away from Farm either. Balneb United, you know, up to the north. When you actually kind of look at the teams remaining on the left-hand side, there's only 3 teams that have got all 4 players alive. Daytrade, Theraton 5, and Cerberus. Everyone else wounded, 3 or less. So despite having 10 teams alive, it's only 3 teams that are actually healthy. Nice shot, Belmoth.
Yeah, very well done from Belmoth. It's going to be the end of Magic's interesting run. The car didn't get the memo just yet, but Mad Dog, he's going to send it straight at Team Bliss, and that's not going to work out too well for him. A little bit of extra cover maybe for Team Bliss to play with if someone else decides they want to breach that one shack. Not sure how many teams are going to be too keen on doing that. It does look like Team Bliss are in a bit of a spot of bother. Every time they peek an angle that is covered or watched, you know, there's good damage coming through. Mirage might end up getting finished off here as well. I think it's just spam through the smoke that's getting the better of him. They're going to have to tap him. But in the end, Bryn's just not really prepared to risk it. And so Mirage will fall, and Team Bliss is down to 2.
Yeah, unfortunately, smokes don't block bullets. So
contrary to popular belief.
Yeah, it's a rough one. And they just had, like, Theraton 5 just have a really good angle to spray into that smoke. So a bit of a rough one there for Team Bliss. And I think the remainder of this game for them now is to just try and hold on for as long as possible, kind of hope and pray for a phase 6 circle to stay on top of that hut, to force Theraton 5 into, you know, engagements with the rest of the teams inside of Farm. Those are kind of the wish list things here, I think, for Team Bliss going into the side of the next 8 seconds into phase 6. If it hard shifts on top of Farm, well, then they're probably in some trouble, because again, then Theraton 5 don't have to really do a whole lot when it comes to moving. And, well, Team Bliss kind of get half of their wish list to come true. They don't have to move, and in a pretty good spot when it comes to maybe phase 7 as well. And Theraton 5, while they don't have to move, well, Daytrade are going to have to move. So now Daytrade's in a position, do they push on to Extraordinaire or Made in Thailand, or do they go over to Theraton 5?
I mean, I guess best case scenario, if they know how many players are alive in any given building, they're going to want to try to push into Extraordinaire. Theraton 5, a difficult task. They got a lot of open ground to cover if they even wanted to go to that direction. But they could get close to Extraordinaire without really risking too much. Bit of cover for them to work with, a building right in between them. At the moment, most teams are pretty much just chilling. I'll be interested to see what BN United is going to do, because they could be a team that, you know, might just send it at Team Bliss. Alternately, just going to go straight into the center of the zone and then past it and beyond.
What center, Jordan?
Well, they're going to go behind Daytrade. That's not going to work out.
The other center? Oh, no.
That's some more points for Daytrade by the looks of things.
Oh, they're like, hey, Daytrade, we heard you struggling a little bit at the top of the standings. Here's a couple more. Cab, Simon, both are now gone. Sapao is also on the ground. And it's only Glories that is left remaining. They have done a little damage the other way, though. Right, so that's one thing to sort of take into account.
Glories has 5 kills.
Yeah, Glories
6
is insane.
It's probably going to be 6 because Suzunami, well, I guess you could get picked up, but Zone's going to have to start to push in here soon. NRX are going to be aware of that. Glory's a one-man army at the moment, isn't he? There is 6 actually confirmed, but it was onto Flash. Doesn't look like he's going to be going down anytime shortly either. Wants that knock and that finish onto Belmoth. Maybe he wants to get Nurans. Maybe he just wants to take out Daytrade on his own. Little bit too over-eager inevitably with those smokes, and will be found out. But
Well,
nice dying attempt from BN United.
There's a couple of teams this really does help out, though. Cerberus, firstly, they're not inside a farm. They've got 4 players alive, so that they can kind of, for their sake, try to avoid a lot of the massacre that's going to be farm eventually when teams have to push out of there, if they have to push out into Phase 7. And Team Bliss in the heart, I remember them. I know they've only got the 2 players, but they're not anywhere near any of these teams in farm, and there's no teams behind them anymore either. Suzunami doesn't have a nade. He throws the flash, and then it's Damn Zhao of NRX that lands the tag onto Balmoth, and Suzunami, of course, still up close. That's all they're going to find, though.
Yeah, but they are at least able to play the edge with some degree of safety for the moment. As soon as they start to push forward, Himas will have an angle. Shots aren't really connecting. Namjao went down to the zone, and Sololzi finished off the rest. NRX are out in 7th. 6 teams left alive. Circle Shift has gone hard north, and I almost want to say Team Bliss is still in. I actually think their hut, at least half of it, is still in, and they'll be able to play from it.
Yeah.
Looks like it.
Well, you can... I'm trying to see. I think you're right. I think that they're just barely in. And even if they're not, if they can get to the backside of the hut, well, that's probably in.
I think Bryn's in.
But even getting to the backside of it is in, and there's no teams behind them. So no one will shoot them in the back. So it actually works out pretty well for Team Bliss. Even more so that apparently Extraordinaire just found 2 knocks onto Theraton 5. Bliss, though, if they do hold this position, they too can kind of play the same role, putting pressure onto Theraton 5, who have to force their way out of this position.
Yeah, they're breaking tires. They're not being able to confirm those kills or those knocks, but even just taking the tires out of the vehicles is going to make this a very difficult rotation for Theraton 5. They're going to have to run it in, probably. They should have tons of smokes available, but because they've been sitting in that building for a little while, all their util will be stocked up. But they're going to have to use it on this cross, which means they're not going to be able to use it later on. And of course, it's a very open circle. Smokes are going to be premium coming into, you know, phases 8 and 9.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, Norins. I mean, look, again, this is day trade in a nutshell, and it's why they've been the best team here for APAC in PCS6, even when they don't have games where, you know, all 4 players are live and it's all clean and it's the best of the best. They still just scrape points better than any other team. 5 kills, top 6 alive. They just do it so consistently. As Esquilugia is down, Jacob is the last one standing for Made in Thailand. He does have a nade going back outside the other way. Does it catch anything, though? Held it for a while, primed it well. Underarm and, well, away from Exquisite. And Team Bliss, you can see them in the minimap. They're just looking over towards his Norins. Nice little cheeky jump, but Trick, well, he stops that Trick in the middle of the air. Now, Rosita Jr. might be left to die here. Jake with another Molotov. He has one more after this as well. He's doing a decent job in just being a pain against Theraton 5. Has that one caught both of them? It has. There's 2 burning players of Theraton 5. Exquisite's down. This is massive for Team Bliss.
It's massive for Extraordinaire as well, who are just sitting on the side of this one, thinking about maybe finding another kill or 2. Pat Dumpong, he's going to be able to get those heals off. So 2 players at fighting fitness right now for Theraton 5, potentially 3 if they can get that res as well. Cerberus will not have an angle. It doesn't look like Team Bliss is super eager to take the peak at the moment. And Trick has been found out by Sololzi. Well, you'd be looking at this now and saying it pretty much has to be Cerberus to walk away with a victory, unless...
Does it?
Someone from Extraordinaire or Theraton 5 walks away with some good damage.
I mean, look at
Are
the
you
circle
expecting Team
shift
Bliss
onto
to
Bliss.
2-on for them?
I mean, look, the circle shift that they've got says to me that they can win this game. Now, they've even got their own little fort. They're inside of the circle. Cerberus have to push into them. Obviously, numbers is going to be a factor. I think what Bliss actually need is Theraton 5 now to push out onto Cerberus.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I think they need to sort of get a bit of a helping hand, right? Theraton 5 and Team Bliss, if either of them want to find the win here, they're almost going to need to quote-unquote work together. Obviously, I'm not insinuating anything there, but they need to kind of ignore one another and focus on Cerberus, because in all this meanwhile, Cerberus is taking map control. They've got 4 players alive. They're looking healthy. They're fragging well. And there's just this massive crossfire that Theraton 5 has to deal with walking out. And it's probably in Bliss's best interests to... I mean, I guess it's 2 schools of thought, right? You can take those points onto Theraton 5 if you can get those kills, or you can let them try to put the damage into Cerberus. This would be a crucial knock, by the way. Monty gets this one onto Heisaki. It opens the door up. Good damage coming on through. Heisaki only just surviving for the moment.
Yeah, and you actually can see Team Bliss don't have a whole lot of smokes, so they're going to need a little bit of help now from Teraton 5. And yeah, as you said, that would have been a massive knock on the Haisaki had that been achieved, but very difficult. Little room to really land those bullets. And now Cerberus and Teraton 5 kind of going toe-to-toe. The only downside to this for Bliss is that Cerberus and Teraton 5 aren't close to each other, so the likelihood that, say, you know, Cerberus is really going to lose players here is quite low. I think it's more that Teraton 5 are probably in the worst position here, and the fact that they've only got the 3 players pushing out of here is so difficult. Haisaki, though, getting aggressive onto Team Bliss.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting choice, isn't it? The fact that he's gotten that position is huge. Sololzy spotted Bryn as well, so Team Bliss are down to just Monty. But Haisaki, he is really playing with fire at the moment. Oh, he's been knocked. Monty picks up a huge one. And does that open the door a little bit now, maybe for Teraton 5 as Duck Mai goes down as well? Monty, he's doing it himself. He's taking on both teams at once. He doesn't care who it is. As long as they're on his screen, he's going to fire at them. 5 kills for Monty. Teraton 5 eliminated. And Team Bliss relying on Monty. And the 1-1-2, he's got Sololzy, but he won't finish it off in the end. Cerberus got the trade. Monty almost got it done for Team Bliss against all of the odds, but in the end, I mean, it really did have to be Cerberus to walk away with it, didn't it?
Oh, I mean, yeah, they had the numbers, but what a performance from Monty to even put them in that kind of position. I mean, just a credit to both of the players there for Team Bliss in a very difficult spot. Yes, fortunate with the Phase 7, Phase 8 zones, but, I mean, they needed any bit of fortune, right? That was a tough position. Full credit to the send over to the heart. For Cerberus, though, they were the only team that didn't really go down towards farm. They kind of held up north for as long as they possibly could, and in the end, benefiting them. They avoided a lot of that massacre and mess over towards farm, and they were able to clean up because of it. Big result for Cerberus, too. And the beauty of that last game, Jordan, is that we had teams 3, 4, and 5 on the standings, battling it out towards the top 3, and it has now made it extraordinarily close for second place. 2 points is the difference now for Team Bliss and Unicorn, and then obviously Teraton 5, they're only a little bit behind, and Cerberus themselves are now also only 14 points behind second. So that battle is massive now between those 4 teams. Obviously, top spot itself, you know, that number 1 spot, yes, Daytrade will run away with it. That storyline is essentially over, let's be honest, but the battle for second is a very incredible race.
That was the first win for this season for Cerberus as well, so nice to get that one on the board. Better late than never, but I mean, yeah, Daytrade, I think they've actually added to their lead. They came in at about a 70-point lead, something like that, and now they're up to about 80 points. So it's even starting to stretch out a little bit toward the top end, which, as you say, means Daytrade probably uncatchable, pretty much uncatchable.
Yeah. But
second place, 2-point gap right now between Bliss and Unicorn Phoenix, and both of those teams are having a pretty reasonable day today. Team Bliss actually doing almost as much as Daytrade this week so far. It's 80 points this week for Daytrade, 79 for Team Bliss. You know, obviously, if we were to start PCS right here, it's a 2-horse race. But the fact that we have all of last week to take into account, and Daytrade had just such a phenomenal starting week, means that no one's probably going to catch them. But it does just go to show, right? You put that hard work in early, make your life easy for the second week, then you can cruise, and that's kind of what they're doing.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was something even before this game I kind of looked at, and I was like, oh, you know, Team Bliss and Daytrade for week 2 alone, very close in terms of the points. And obviously, even for Cerberus too, they're having an amazing week 2 when it comes in comparison to week 1. Not that they had a bad week 1, but obviously, you know, what was it, like 70-something points behind Daytrade, whereas week 2 so far, it's only like 15 points. So you kind of put everything into that kind of perspective. Sololzy, massive game, 6 kills, 19 points overall from the game itself for Cerberus. Team Bliss getting 12 points, whereas for Teraton 5, despite being towards the, you know, the back end of that game, only the 8 points. And Daytrade, this is what I mean, Jordan. They scrape points better than any team in APAC here for PCS6. Even if they have a bit of a slow start, even if they lose a player early, they still walk away with, you know, generally 8+ points.
Yeah. I mean, that's the big thing, isn't it? It's like turning your quote-unquote bad games into pretty decent games. Like, most teams, honestly, would be happy with 5 or 6 points a game. I think 5 or 6 points a game is a very solid result. How many games have we had now? That's
23?
23. I'm going to do some quick maths.
Oh, no. That's never a good idea. Well,
23 times 6 has 138 points.
Okay.
Where does that sit you right now? That sits you in 7th place.
That's
So
pretty
if you're
good.
getting an average of 6 points a game, that's 7th place right now. So if you're doing that as your bad game and then having those really big runaway games, well, that's how you get 263 points and you're 80 points pretty much above the rest.
Yeah. We look at the total leaderboard now through the 23 matches, and yeah, the top 5 are very much going to be the top 5 when it's all said and done, unless something crazy happens. Made in Thailand, Balnam United, whether they can catch up to Cerberus, I'm not so sure now. But and more importantly now for Cerberus, while they well and truly have caught up to Unicorn Phoenix. If anything, it does actually kind of feel like Unicorn Phoenix have started to have a really, really bad week too, Jordan. Only 50 points gained. That's 7th place on the week. So that's not kind of a position that's fighting for 2nd place. That's a position that is dropping down the standings. Now, of course, they can't really drop too far down the standings because they had a decent amount of points from week 1, but they are being caught up by the teams like Cerberus, Team Bliss, who, you know, at the end of week 1 were like 31 points behind Unicorn Phoenix. As you can see now, it's only 2 and 7 points respectively.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not awful. 50 points for week 2 after 8 games. It's okay.
Yeah.
Unicorn Phoenix just needs to have 1 or 2 decent games here, which is kind of what they've been missing, right? They had 1 good game. That was what they started the week off with, that 10-kill win. And then
nothing.
some 8th places here, 6th there, blah, blah, blah. A few kills getting put through every now and then as well. It's keeping the scoreboard ticking over, and that's always good to see. But that obviously needs to be in addition to getting a big game or 2 every maybe once or twice a day. Do you know what I mean? If you're really going to be putting it toward the top end of the scoreboard. So that's kind of what's lacking at the moment for Unicorn Phoenix. They do have another couple of opportunities to do it tonight. We've got 2 more games to go. We are moving on to Miramar as well, which is where they actually did manage to pick up a win yesterday. So we'll keep that in the back of our minds. But then again, Daytrade also got a 13-kill win yesterday on Miramar. So let's not take them out of the possibility just yet either. They've only had 1 day so far where they haven't found a win, and that was day 3 of last week. Haven't got one yet today either, but still 2 more opportunities.
We look at the Expendables there for a minute. Of course, they won't be fighting with attack all around on Miramar, so that's where it's an opportunity for both of those 2 teams to, you know, branch out a little bit and have decent games towards the long game. Unicorn Phoenix, yeah, it's, well, as I said, 50 points, but in reality, they picked up, what, 20 points from game number 1 this week. So if you take out game number 1, it's 30 points from 7 games. So not really the kind of numbers that would be competing for top spot, let alone even really 2nd spot. So yeah, a bit of a drop-off for Unicorn Phoenix, unfortunately for them. Still in 2nd place and still a lot to fight for, though. I think it would be really disappointing, though, if they somehow drop out of the top 3 at the conclusion of PCS6. I think that's got to be the goal now. Stay inside of the top 3, collect the points. When you look at the PGC points that you get for top 3, you know, 120 for 2nd, 96 for 3rd, 80 for 4th, then 64, and then it starts to really drop off. So really, 2nd place is a large amount of points. And obviously for Daytrade, they're going to finish first. They're going to get the, you know, 80,000. They're going to get the 200 PGC points, puts them in good stead. They will still have to have, though, a good PCS7. And you look at, you know, Cerberus and Team Bliss, if they walk away with 96, 80 points, and then kind of repeat that again going into PCS7, well, then that puts them around the kind of 190-ish point range. So if that's putting you around the 190 point range, getting 3rd and 3rd, well, then 1 first beats that. So really, for Daytrade, it's all about just making sure they qualify again, and they should pick up, you know, 20 to 40 points minimum. That'll get you to PGC.
I mean, look, as far as Unicorn Phoenix is concerned, they, you know, this wouldn't be the first time they had a fantastic start to a season and weren't able to really capitalize on it. They won week 1 and 2 in the last season and then didn't get anything, didn't get any money out of the 3rd week. Of course, it was a different format back then, but that ultimately meant that they finished in 3rd. They won 2 weeks and they finished in 3rd. And then, you know, there's that discussion obviously about the fact that the later weeks had so much more money attributed to them than the earlier weeks and whatnot. But it's not the kind of thing that you'd want to see sort of pop up again for Unicorn Phoenix, because then it, like, once, okay, but twice? If you start off really fantastically twice and you're unable to convert, then is that a symptom of a greater problem? I guess it's a good problem to have, all things considered. At least you're doing pretty well. At least you're fighting for a top spot. But just begs the question, what's going wrong in the latter stages of the competitions for Unicorn Phoenix that means that they can't hold on to a top spot? Because if you remember, on day 1, it actually looked like Unicorn Phoenix was going to be the team to beat. They went 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 1st. and kind of dominated for the first 4 games. But then Daytrade obviously started to do their thing on a bit more of a consistent basis. And now here we are with 263 points, first place. It's been pretty crazy. This is, I feel like, the most dominating performance we've seen in quite a while from the APAC region.
Yeah, from a sort of single team versus what in the past there's always been, you know, two teams. Really, you know, that 2-horse race has been the staple of the APAC region. I mean, realistically, we've also never really had, you know, that real spread of a top 4, top 5 kind of race. Like, I don't think that's ever been in effect. I think the most we've ever had was a 3-horse kind of race, which was like, what, Fury, Buram, and Divine, maybe one split. That would have been about it. So generally, yeah, it's generally that 2-horse race, but I think for the first time, you're right, this has turned very much into that 1-horse race. But fortunately, second place battle is shaping up to be a good one. And with the way that the rewards are kind of placed as well for this stage, Jordan, you know, second place is still really, really good. And it's not like the top spot gets you know, an automatic invitation to PGC. So basically, the difference between first and second just ends up being points and money more than anything. So there's a lot to fight for to get that second place as we head to Miramar for match 24. Really getting down towards the final games. Of course, tomorrow is going to be the final game. There's only 5 games tomorrow. We've got 2 more games to play tonight. 7 games in total. It's not a lot of games remaining, and it is very close for that second place.
Yeah, Reb, copping a few shots, and Sylphie is going to try and knock him over. Bit of demolition derby. But it looks like Reb's out of there okay. 74L1 was on his way, looking for the shots. He has got some shots. He's got an angle here, but these are tough ones to hit. So, bit of a heart-stopping moment for a second there for Reb, but he'll be okay. Now, let's take a look at the average damage for the first 23 matches. And it's no surprises to see Daytrade far and away out in front, 1,400. And then obviously Team Bliss coming in just under 1K, Terathon 5, Cerberus, Unicorn, Phoenix. I mean, look, that's the top 5 teams, right? So it makes sense.
I was going to say
just
that.
In a bit of a different order.
Yeah, it's literally just the top 5 standings and, you know, showing the gulf between the top 5 and the rest of the lobby. If anything, you kind of just wish the Daytrade would drop about like 60, 70 points, and then you'd have a real top 5 race for top spot, but not to be. Our kill, speaking of top 5, is, of course, Clory's. 7 kills, Jordan, in that last game. Massive performance. When it came to damage, though, Sololzy with 6, it was Clory's with, what, 300 less damage, but 1 extra kill. So you do the math.
Maths isn't my strong suit. I actually failed Maths B, and I had to go back down to Maths A, which was the noob maths, basically. But I did really well in the noob maths. I got my additions and subtractions very, very good. But algebra and quadratic equations, oh, God. Don't get me started. Well, we are on Miramar, so expecting a bit of a slower start to this game as well. Normally at this point, we're going, oh, you know, attack all around in the expendables. How many times are they going to hot drop each other? But not a conversation we get to really have heading into this second map. Just get to watch a bit of looting. I mean, look, the win from Cerberus in the last round kind of put a bit of a dampener on the spirits of Made in Thailand. Because remember, we were thinking like, oh, maybe Made in Thailand can jostle for that 5th position after their win in game 2. And then all of a sudden, Cerberus bounces back and hits hard. And now they're 30 points above Made in Thailand again. And it sort of nullifies, cancels out the win that Made in Thailand got.
Can go both ways, though, right? Like, now you could sit back and if Cerberus have a poor game and Made in Thailand go and get 20 points, then suddenly, you know, back in contention for that. But you are right. Yeah, that was a conversation we were starting to probably have. And could Cerberus keep up with the top 4? Would Made in Thailand catch up to Cerberus? And, well, we kind of got some answers from that last game. And, well, Cerberus have said they want to play with the big boys and put Made in Thailand in the dust behind them. And they've done just that. Still 2 more games to go today before you can really settle going into tomorrow and figure out, are you really playing for the top 5 position, or is Made in Thailand coming right behind you? So that's still the goal, though, for Made in Thailand. You got 2 more games. Got to give everything you've got and try and keep in touch with Cerberus. 31 points, 7 games to go. That is certainly achievable. for a team of Maiden Thailand's caliber. And, you know, the other thing as well with Cerberus, this is probably, without looking at any of the stats, this is probably the best performing PCS we've ever seen from them. Generally, it's a team that's in the bottom half of the standings with so much potential, always dominating, you know, back in their local region. A team that, based on that domination, is usually regarded very highly, and then they come to PCS APAC and it's like a, you know, 10th or a 12th kind of place finish, maybe 8th at best. But this has been a real performance from them, and they can still finish as good as second. That's all you can really ask for any of these teams with 7 games to go. So full credit to Cerberus. It's been a pleasure to watch them really, I think, bring their best for the first time.
They have bounced back, yeah. Yeah, look, I mean, it's been interesting, isn't it, right? They're one of those teams that has been a staple name within PCS APAC, and they've been here every season except for PCS4, even including Charity Showdown. And I mean, you're pretty close to on the money, right? Their best performance was in PCS1 and PCS3, where they hit 5th. Everything apart from that has been a lot lower. 9th in PCS5, 13th in PCS2, and Charity Showdown was at 12th. They didn't even make it for PCS4. So I have to agree with you. I think this is their best looking opportunity in quite a long time. And you'd want to see them try to push it a little bit higher, up into maybe the top 2, of course. But it is good. It is good that one of those staple names, and it's not even just one, Rolf, right? Day Trade as well. They've had kind of wishy-washy performances, to be honest, up to this point. They've had pretty much 8th, 7th, the smatterings of 14ths and 12ths in there as well. This is the first time that Day Trade has really dominated this lobby, and it's kind of come out of the blue a little bit. But fantastic to see that these teams that have been really sticking with it, that have been coming back season after season after season, are having those solid performances, finally, and putting their name up in lights.
So having a look at the circle here, bringing it now to this game itself. Al Pozo, you got Craters up north as well. And obviously Monte Nuevo down towards the south. A lot of space for all these teams.
That's great parking.
It's like Spider-Man has left his buggy on the wall. But yeah, I mean, no surprise. Miramar. Lots and lots of space, lots of buildings here for this kind of Phase 1 circle. That's a nice, quick spray onto Cheeksing, and that will be our opening kill of the game. 7 minutes in. Not too shabby, actually, for Miramar. You can sometimes go as long as 12, 13 minutes, Jordan, so we'll take that nice and early. No extended fight, though, of course. Just a quick one and done, but nice little start for Alter Ego, who've had a good night tonight.
Yeah, that's one of those things that sometimes pops up on Miramar, isn't it? You do normally have a very slow start, and then 1 or 2 people might get caught looting a random building or on a rotation. And unfortunately for Cheeksing, it will be him this time that will not get to play the game out. Cerberus are the team that probably has the furthest to go. Luxurious, maybe you can make the argument they've got a little further. But both of them on the outskirts, starting to try and work their way in. Everyone else pretty much well set up. NRX here in Monte Nuevo. They've got attack all around quite close by as well. When I say NRX, actually really it is only Suzunami that's in Monte Nuevo at the moment. The rest of NRX are just outside to the northwest.
Yeah, don't get fooled by that minimap. So I almost did for a brief second. I was like, oh no, that looks like oh, never mind. It's attack all around. Kind of close color codes there.
Definitely. So Suzunami definitely wanting to keep the head down for the moment. Insight's going to do a bit of scouting as well. Looking for a position that Team Bliss can pull up to.
The funny thing about Day Trade is I kind of feel like that they're due for a big game. Like all 4 players alive, running rampant on the lobby, finding a win. Because it's now been 4 games, Jordan, where they've actually been hindered in some kind of fashion early on. Nice headshot from Suzunami into Gems. But for Day Trade, yeah, they haven't really been able to have that sort of massive game, 4 players up. But yet, despite that, the amount of points that they're still racking up, it's staggering. Absolutely staggering. So it does kind of feel like they're due for a big game, despite having really good games and maintaining such a significant lead at that top place position. 45 seconds until Phase 2. Let's see the special prizes there. Kill leader, insane squad, all PCS team. I think when it
Who's
comes...
the kill leader at the moment?
I believe, let me...
Might be Flash. Guess.
Yeah, Flash. That was the one. I saw that popped up actually at the start of the last game or the end of the last game. Either one. But yeah, Flash at the moment. I think when you think of all PCS team, Flash, Norans, surely both of those two have to be in, right?
Flash, Norans, Clories are probably the three that come to mind for me. I don't think it can be more than 2 from the same team. Is that right? I can't really remember.
Yeah, I can't remember the actual ruling on that, but I think in the past it's always been kind of like a 2-player limit, whether that's a hard limit or if that's a soft limit. So if you go with Clories and you go with Flash Neurons, do you grab someone from Team Bliss or do you grab someone from Theraton 5?
Has to be from Bliss or Theraton 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the argument there is probably between Monty or Rosita Jr. Those are the two that have been sort of really popping off for their teams. Mirage, maybe worth a shout, but I think he's on the outer edge of it. Ranger X has been pretty good for Theraton 5 as well.
Obviously, Insane Squad goes to Daydream. Insane Squad's a bit of a weird award because in some ways you just always give it to the winner. As Simon loses out to an easy spray of Levi's. Well, we kind of touched on Bound Aim United very briefly with Clories. We're going to need something big from Clories now to sort of turn things around. Obviously, they've lost Simon. Opens up the door. Can't land the tackle to Ductus. Needs the power and Cab to come and really help out. 777 still outside, and Cab is down to Jun. So Bound Aim United really are making an absolute mess of things. It's only Clories that's left.
Well, that is all too familiar tale for BN United. There's a player really close to him. Well, he'd get a good spray onto the guy far away. He wasn't expecting Duck so close.
Yeah, that was rough.
Going to be the end of BN United. 16th place. They are just going to continue to slip further and further down the standings. You know, I mean, attack all around. They haven't been too bad today. They'll be able to catch up relatively shortly, and Magic Esports seems to have turned around their fortunes a little bit as well after the first couple of days, and they're getting pretty close to BN United too, so they could potentially drop down into the bottom half.
Here we go. This could be a massive one. Unicorn Phoenix, Cerberus, two teams that are part of that top 5 contingency. Haisaki knocked down by Shin V. And that's a good way to open things up for Unicorn Phoenix. That's a nade right next to Duckmai, who somehow has managed to stay alive. That was very close. 3 HP. Ridiculous.
Yeah, he's lucky to be alive, but won't be for too long. Unicorn Phoenix are really controlling this area now. They finish off Haisaki. Hungbo Ditch finds an angle onto Duckmai. And it was actually only the 2 Cerberus players that were breaching that building. So maybe just some poor scouting from Cerberus there, not recognizing that Unicorn Phoenix had 4 players there, and ultimately that's going to cost them. Made in Thailand will be licking their lips looking at that, saying, okay, that's the team that we want to see suffering a bit.
Yeah. Especially when Cerberus just did so much good work to put themselves in a position to, battle with the top 4. And kind of like I said at the start of this game, this is what Made in Thailand need now. Cerberus to just go out and then they have a big game and suddenly they're still in a fight for that top 5 position. Now you can see on your screens, of course, APAC PGC points. First place here for PCS6, 200 points. But for PCS7, direct invite. So you win that PCS7 later in the year and you will go straight to PGC. So it would be interesting if Daytrade were to win both events, and well, then I guess the 200 points would be pretty much for nothing. But
moot point, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine though.
It does mean if you have a bad event, right? Like if you're like an Archangel Predator, who we know are probably capable of winning this lobby at their best, you can still directly invite by winning PCS7.
True, but that's almost definitely not a sure thing.
No.
Even in the heyday of Buriram and Fury, there was moments where you thought Buriram was not going to be able to win a lot of those tournaments that they did end up going on to win. They were, in second or third or something like that, and then they had these massive games. So you can't really rely on a win. Best to get as much done as possible. Right here, right now. Looks like we are headed over El Pozo. Circle has shifted, shrunk on top of it, and whenever you get these kind of city finishes, they do tend to provide a lot of action in a very short amount of time. Once the teams are rotated in, once they're inside the buildings, not a whole lot happens.
By the way, Flash knocked out of the Murado. That is obviously the kill leader and one of the best players for Daytrade, taken out for basically nothing. Far too easily. courtesy of Glooms of attack all around. As Senjo look to, I don't know, whether they want to take this compound or not. It is inside of the circle, although barely. Tsunami just literally running by himself too, out in the open. Senjo don't obviously have that line of sight. Extraordinaire just inside as well with this compound on the south. They've just pushed in to that position. Minute 40 till phase 4. But the majority of teams, Jordan, now inside of Al Pozo. And yeah, it's going to be one of those kind of games where you're going to see like 30 deaths in about, 2 minutes.
Do the jump, Belmoth. We all want to see it.
I've never seen that in esports.
I'd love to see someone go through the jump and seat swap someone. That would go down in history as the greatest PCS player of all time.
Yep. May as well give that one a try. It might be the best chance someone could have at a spotlight highlight reel play.
Still a few teams looking to scramble inside of the zone. Team Bliss is actually one of the ones that is probably in the worst of positions, especially now with that knock onto Insight. They've got to go past Extraordinaire, underneath NRX, and even then there's a long way to travel to get to safety.
That's rough for Insight. It kind of just feels like he hasn't been able to play the game tonight. Sometimes you just have one of those nights where you're just the one that's constantly taken down on the rotates, the unlucky one, if you will. Not much you can really do to sort of fight back to that, really, can you? As Gems knocked by 74L1. Attack all around, going to continue to just try and win this with nades. As 74L1 is actually gone down, courtesy of Nile of Extraordinaire. So helping out Attack all around on the other side of this little cliff face. And now Smell is the only one left alive, has the high ground against Glooms. It's a 1 versus 1. But it's Jayers who wins the final fight.
And Attack all around has 3 players knocked. Unicorn Phoenix sends the blood in the water. Look at them. They're absolutely charging on over. I think you've only got time for maybe 1 res here. 2 if you're lucky, but they're not going to have all 4 players up alive, and they're definitely not going to be in fighting fitness by the time Unicorn Phoenix is ready to third party. Hungbo Ditch has just slowed down for a moment, but Jayers has been spotted and knocked at blue from far, and it gets worse and worse for Attack all around now, doesn't it? Unicorn Phoenix, they don't know how many players there are alive right here, but if they knew, if they could see what we could see, they would have been over that hill already and Attack all around would have been done. But I wonder, have they given up their opportunity? Have they given a bit too much time for Attack all around to get those resets? You got Glooms, Gems, and Janku up. Obviously, they know they've got that knock onto Jayers. Mad Dog will be finished here in just a second by Duck Juice. And Archangel Predator seem to be following in quick succession. Senjo in the wars again. Will be knocked out in 14th place. And Team Bliss with, I think, maybe just Mirage in that building, trying to hang on and keep Monty up. This is madness all over the map right now. Xenox, Archangel Predator. They might be done, but Attack all around somehow get themselves out of that sticky situation. Unicorn Phoenix, they will have missed a trick. When they go back and watch that replay, they will not be happy. And Team Bliss, in the meanwhile, is eliminated by NRX.
I mean, who hasn't been eliminated at this point in the last couple of minutes? We're down to 33 alive, so... I mean, I think we've lost about 20 players in the last 3 minutes. Ridiculous carnage, and there's more to come. It's not done. I don't see it slowing down over the next few minutes either. Minute 20 till phase 5. So, yes, the teams inside of Al Pozo can probably find some sort of safety, but then you kind of look at the Al Pozo field. That's where it's more likely that we're going to be heading to for the latter portions of this game. Now, Gems is the solo. You picked up a nice quad kill earlier. 7 kills now for Attack all around. But keeping up to date with the sort of higher ends of the standings, though, right? Daytrade's still alive. But more importantly, with Unicorn Phoenix and Team Bliss eliminated in that little rampage, it's Theraton 5 who stands to gain. 4 players up, Jordan, inside of Al Pozo. They can really capitalize this game and go for that second spot.
Well, it's been a bit of a slower day so far for Theraton 5, hasn't it? Normally they have chimed in with a win or 2 on most days. Haven't had it yet. This could be the opportunity. And what a time to bring it out. 1 game left after this one today. And it can really throw the standings into a bit of disarray if Theraton 5 were able to overtake Unicorn Phoenix. For the first time, it would feel we would have a different second place team. Made in Thailand are probably also pretty happy with how things are playing out as well. A lot of their direct competitors are out of the picture already or are looking severely wounded. Circle shift. Still not too bad for Sololzy, but he's copping shots from Alter Ego. And the more teams that start to rotate in this direction, the more likely someone's going to have an angle on him. I don't know that this is going to be a real long-term play. Even the vehicle not really landing in a great position for him either. He would have really loved it to be somewhere that he could have just tucked behind in between the hay bales and the vehicle, but it's probably gone just a bit too far.
So 20 minutes now elapsed. Daytrade on the move. Big sprays from Alter Ego. Gets rid of Belmorth. So only Puchil's left. So it's not going to be a massive, massive game for Daytrade. Like I, somewhat maybe predicted that they were due for. So that, again, it kind of continues on for Daytrade where they're not really making the most of this top spot where they're getting, 15 to 20 point games. They're just continuing to get, the average of about 8 to 10 sort of points. This actually may end up being one of their more worst games for the entire season, Jordan. So 1 kill, not inside of the placement points, not an awful spot for Puchils at the hay bales, but yeah, Daytrade not really going to get much from this one.
Ooh. Grenade not able to finish off Puchils. Not just yet, but attack all around is on their way into the zone. And when I say attack all around, I really just mean Glooms. I'm not sure where Gems has ended up. I do see him there on the minimap starting to come in, so it looks like he might have survived. 2 is always going to be better than 1. Oh, those are some good shots from Kid X, though. But luckily for Gems, he actually lands right next to Glooms and probably will be resable.
Oh, he goes Alter Ego, though. Now it's 3-1. Morado, 1 left behind as well in another. It was 1, 2, 3, 4. Duck Juice able to find the kill onto Sololzy, so that's Cerberus out. Not a big game from them at all. Just the 1 kill point, no placement points. So that does help out for Made in Thailand, who still have 4 players alive and can get a decent amount from this game. Gems down as Alter Ego do make it to one of the hay bale huts with 4 players. Never easy to hold. And the 8 teams left now, so everyone will start to get some placement points. Still, really want to be keeping our eyes on Theraton 5, Jordan. They have a big chance to gain points, to gain ground on Unicorn Phoenix and Team Bliss.
Made in Thailand, watching extraordinaire like a hawk at the moment, but they do need to be careful because their high ground position does also mean that they are skylining a little bit and teams can spot them pretty easily too. Circle shift, favorable enough for Made in Thailand. About as south as it could have gone. They really do need to deal with NRX or Extraordinaire though, don't they? They don't want to be stuck in that sandwich. Escalusia does get knocked by a grenade. Alter Ego. This is not a favorable zone shift for them. They obviously have attack all around to worry about.
Gloom's down. That's Petret finding the kill, or at least the down for Magic Esport. Nile finished off, bleeding out to Thanawa. And yeah, Glooms will go, but it's actually Kid X who gets the kill. Take that one for Extraordinaire. And yeah, for Alter Ego now, not inside of the circle anymore, so they're going to have to get a move on once again. Hopefully for their sake, they still have a couple of vehicles available. Big nade, Thanawa healing. That one falls short. How with another nade, the final one that he has. And it's 777, speaking of nades. That hands one onto Nam Zhao as Jun is pushing up close by to Suzunami. Starts to fall back a little bit. 7 kills for the Expendables, 6 for NRX. And then maybe coming to a head here. Jun picks up, gets 1, fires back over to Lima, who was able to get him quite low. The Expendables winning this comfortably, though. Only 2 left standing for NRX.
Magic Esport out in 8th place. The Expendables just keeping an eye on things for the moment, doing a real number onto NRX. Suzunami and Nam Zhao now both confirmed, but we'll turn our attention toward Trick. He's got multiple players to deal with. Gets rid of 1. Starts to work his way back up onto the high ground. Thanawa is going to try and push forward. Looking for an opportunity or a moment, but he won't get it. How locks it down. And in the meanwhile, Expendables did finish off NRX. But Made in Thailand, it looks like they might be drawing their last breath here for game 4 of the evening. Getting a little bit of a helping hand from those third parties coming through. But end of the day, Extraordinaire should not be dropping this fight.
So 6 teams remaining. Most importantly, keeping our eyes still on T5, but I think they're starting to run out of really good space to make something from this game. Although, speaking of, Ranger X with the knock onto Tede. And 777 now creeping up. And Made in Thailand was another one to see if they could get something from it, but only the 1 kill. They haven't really been able to make hay while the sun shines here in Miramar. Jacob did get the knock onto How, but Rogue Namsma is down to 777. It's been a massive game for the Expendables. Well, lo and behold, the Expendables and AAA both having good games, of course, went away from Pachinki and Erangel. No real surprises there, but the Expendables are having one of the bigger games that we've seen from really any of the teams here for PCS6 APAC. It's up there, and they can really finish, you know, close to maybe like 20 kills or so if things go their way. Wow, that is a circle shift and a half for Theraton 5. They get a big reprieve into the top 4, but more importantly, now into the top 3 of the overall standings, 3 points behind Unicorn Phoenix.
Well, I'm not sure it's going to guarantee them the win, though. Obviously, this gives a lot of room to work with for the Expendables. Levi's has gone hard north. He's just pushed up and looked for control of the zone, and if they can clean up EXO, which it really does look like they're going to be able to do. Extraordinaire down to How now, and not for very long. The Expendables have so much map control, and they've got high ground here as well. If they can just find an angle to play from and get shots across, they are going to be absolutely, you know, dreaming, basically. Levi's already with that knock onto Ranger X. It doesn't look like this is going to slow down at all for the Expendables. This is surely a finishable knock for Levi's. He's really looking for it. He knows how big of a deal that could be if he could just put down one more of those Theraton 5 players and get it to a 2-on-4. I mean, it should be the Expendables from here, regardless of that zone shift.
Oh, what a game for the Expendables, though, right? You sort of take them away from Erangel, take them away from Pachinki, and I think they've really shown us here what they are truly capable of. They're a good team. And it's also why, you know, you look at attack all around going into week 1, many would have thought, oh, they'll win the Pachinki battle. But no, the Expendables are a quality opposition to attack all around for that Pachinki battle. And, you know, they're going to end up being basically the same amount of points at the conclusion of this game. If not, the Expendables may be even higher than that. In fact, may be able to even jump into the top 7, replacing Baonam United. And would be pretty close to Made in Thailand. So there's big things that they can do, and it makes you question for the final Erangel games going into tomorrow, Jordan. Do they move away for the last 2 games to see if they can finish strong?
So many questions that I think we already know the answer to.
They probably won't, though. Let's be real.
They probably won't. That is very much correct. I'd say nice shot from Duckjuice. He'll finish off Alter Ego, and it is now the 4-on-3, but I mean, the Expendables have all the cards in their pocket. They've got the high ground, they've got the flanks, they've got the Orm. It's just, they've got everything, really. I don't think Theraton 5 walks away with a very good time of this one either. Jun, he has been absolutely fragging in this round, and it's just down to Rosita Jr. And I suppose if you wanted to really guarantee your position in a Nations Cup team, this should be the clutch to pull off. But I don't see it happening.
Yeah, Pathenpong goes down. I think still for Theraton 5, I mean, yes, not really taking full advantage of what happened around them, but still got something from this game that they would have liked. But taking more than every other team, the Expendables for match 24, massive winners. Not just taking the win, Jordan, but taking it with a huge amount of kill points to go alongside the win too. 21 kills.
Wow.
And unless I'm wrong, and I don't think I am, I think that's the most kills for win that we've had for PCS6. Massive, massive game from the Expendables.
I want to go out on a limb and say that is probably the most we've ever had in PCS APAC. I don't want to say PCS globally because I don't keep up with all of the regions at all times, but 21 kills. I can't remember a time in APAC that we've seen anything better than that, to be honest.
Too hard to say. Too hard to say. We've had so many APAC events, or PCS
in
events.
In PCS APAC, I mean.
Yeah, too many PCS events, I think. Yeah, off the top 21? Of our head. Maybe we'll, during the break, we'll have a quick little skim through and see if it is. But still, a massive game. They've got the fan club as well coming in and saying congratulations. But it begs the question, how many points have they wasted with this Pachinki battle with AAA? Both of the teams have wasted, I feel, a lot of points continuing to fight over Pachinki. For the Expendables, 75 points from week 1. They now have 62 already in week 2. It's been a big week for them.
Yeah, certainly. And they really needed it as well. It was a bit of an awkward first week for them. Obviously, all those hot drops and whatnot notwithstanding, it still didn't really come together for them. I mean, they made top 8 last week, but for a team like the Expendables, they'd be wanting much more than that. And up into the top 5 for week 2 right now, but overall still only just within the side of the top 8. So still a bit more work to be done for the Expendables. But this is kind of what I've been saying, right? Expendables, attack all around. I think even Archangel Predator, a few of the teams that, we had high hopes for haven't really necessarily reached those high hopes. But that is an example of it. That is an example of what we've been hoping to see from a team like this. And that's a huge amount of points out of one game. A lot of momentum to be heading into round 10 with. One more game left today.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. And it's Miramar again, right? So, that's the biggest takeaway. Can you not necessarily repeat, because I don't think any team's going to be able to go back-to-back 20-kill wins, but I think just being able to repeat, having good performance for the Expendables away from Pachinki, away from that battle with AAA, where there's a bit more freedom on Miramar, and even Attack All Around also had a very good game there on Miramar. So, look, I think when this event's all said and done, Jordan, both teams will probably be kicking themselves a little bit with what's happened over on Erangel, but both teams should be very happy with their Miramars. Player of the match, Jordan, with 9 kills, 753 damage. In terms of damage proportion percentage, nothing crazy, but kill proportion, 42.9% is quite significant on a team that had 21 kills overall.
Yeah, indeed. 31 points out of that match, and that was kind of what I was saying. 20 points a game, potentially possible. They've gone for 31 points. I wasn't necessarily talking about it in the context of the Expendables. I was more so referring to Made in Thailand and whether or not they would be able to overcome the deficit that they would be able to, get up into maybe the top 5. But end of the day, if you can see something like that coming through from the Expendables, maybe they're worth a shout as well to continue to elevate their standing, sitting in 7th at the moment. Perhaps if they put another 1 or 2 of those together, a top 5, maybe on offer. Obviously, still a long way to go there, but you can only do what you can do. And if you can get 31 points in a game, then that might just be enough.
Well, what is it? 36 points to 5th. You got 31 points the last game. Do that one again, you're looking pretty good. We got a short break. When we come back, though, of course, we've got one more game to close out week 2, day 2.
trên một con xe. Và đây là con xe Dacia nha. Góc bắn nó sẽ rất thoải mái thôi. Và đây là một quả đấy, quá đẹp đến từ Hải Saki. Gần như cứ knock out hết hoàn toàn đội của Senzo. Đó là knock out hết. Nổ cả xe.
Just hears it now, just rounding that corner. Ragnar inside the smokes, but I mean, throwables are just going to finish this out real quick.
Yeah, I mean, this was the problem we knew for Just Too Easy. I mean, they were on that south side. As soon as Troglodytes took this spot over, it was pretty much GG for Just Too Easy. Yep, there you go. It's cleaned up. Troglodytes will get.
กับทางด้านของ DX ไปเลยว่าเฮ้ย
มาดูก่อนนะตรงนี้ท่านผู้ชมว่าไฟท์ใหญ่แน่นอนครับผมมีพิชชาติในมาเทสหมดเลย
เฮ้ย
แล้วโดดลงมาเจมเอ้าปาอะไรอ่ะ
Bây giờ chưa còn tính điểm hạng thôi thì họ đã rất sát với các điểm Unicorn đáng. Còn ở đây đó là sóc lọ làm đôi đến từ triple kill dành cho Solo G. Một tiếng công nhà đến từ Luxurious 1v1 và bây giờ nó là 1v1 rồi. Tham Minh hơi sai. Đẩy ra.
There you go. Corsac going to find the opening one on the VHZ. LFP is just a fish in the water right now. RBN also knocked within an inch of his life.
Elliot's just playing with his food right now. There you go. Gets one of them. LFP just around the other corner. Does lose vision on it, but gonna eventually reveal.
Tell that they are pretty busted. More utility just being traded back and forth between Rumblers and Bing Bang Boom. It's like it's oh no, sharp shot!
Đang lùi thì đã nằm trước đó rồi. Glory chờ sẵn mình ta sấy về phía team Extron đi nè. Người vừa rớt xe đó là Trick. Và bây giờ Glory không có thông tin nhưng sau tình huống nhã vừa rồi anh ta đã biết được Neil ở đâu rồi. Neil đang bị rung súng vậy ta không thể nào sấy được về phía Glory. Double knock out cho Glory. Hoàn toàn có thể là triple và đây là một tình huống clear squad cho Glory.
Start to peek out of the long compound. United decided Nootropic first. We need to eliminate them so we can give all of our focus to Yahoo to get in safely. Nootropic fall down very quickly, and now that information that.
I know what you really want. Turn it up and give it down. Maybe we're in paradise. I'm feeling like a hero. Turn it up and do or die. Everything is on the line. I'm feeling like a hero. Turn it up and do or die.
Only one more game remaining today here for PCS6 APAC. Miramar coming out very shortly, but we've dove into the record books. Jordan's gone and done the hard yards. He's got some statistics. Of course, off the back of a 21-kill win by the Expendables in our last game. Now, Jordan, you're the stats man for a reason. Take us through it.
So they say, 21 kills. It is the highest we've ever seen in APAC history. MS Chonburi and Day Trade of PCS5 and PCS2 respectively did hit 20 kills each. And the interesting thing about the Day Trade roster in PCS2 was that was Flash, Nurens, Puchils, and Vanotica. So a very, very similar roster to what we've got here in PCS6. Other notable mentions, Bururam in PCS4 with 19, Eagle 365 in PCS4 with 17, and Battle Arena Elites in PCS2 with 17. So 21 is the highest we've seen in APAC history. Obviously not worldwide, but very, very solid stuff from the Expendables. And it's going to be enough to jump them above BN United. And I mean, the unfortunate reality for BN United is they're just simply not doing enough this week. And they are really, really starting to go into a bit of a free fall at the moment because they came into this week in a solid spot, but they have barely been able to do anything, and they are in danger of dropping out of the top 8.
Second last in week 2 so far through 9 rounds. Only Senjo has less points than Balnam United here. The other thing to touch on is the fact that I'm super, super jealous that this is not the final game for the entire season, because could you not imagine, Jordan, that battle for second place between Unicorn, Theraton 5 and Team Bliss? It literally can chop and change off the back of one game, and who's to say if it's going to remain that way by the end of tomorrow night. You know, maybe one of them sort of just pulls away and it's a bit boring by the last 2 games, but for now we soak it all in and we really kind of follow that battle for second place, Unicorn, Theraton 5 and Team Blizz. Looking at NRX on our screens at the moment, really nothing too flashy to say. Bottom 3 in the standings, 90 points. Not a bad season by any means for a team with, you know, little to no expectations. Had an okay game there in the last round, 6 kills, 7th place, gets more points really ticking over for them. So I think they've held their own, you know, and they're probably just one really good win away from sort of a top 10 finish. And that's kind of, I think you could say that for a couple of teams as well around them, like Alter Ego, Team Extraordinaire. Really, when you look at the bottom 2, we haven't really probably spoken about the bottom end of the standings really at all. Senjo and Luxurious Esports both have had good moments. I think maybe Senjo more so in week 1 and Luxurious more in week 2, probably fair to say. And I think the leaderboard actually, you know, is very much representation of that. 51 points for Senjo in week 1, 28 for Luxurious in week 1, whereas in week 2, 33 to Luxurious and 17 to Senjo. What do you make of those two teams? Because I think really you could say the top 14 all have had a pretty okay stage, if not a really good stage. Senjo, Luxurious, a little bit further behind them.
Yeah, I mean, I think for both of those two teams, it really is about getting experience at this level.
Yeah.
As you say, we've seen good stuff from both of them. In the case of Luxurious, I think they are holding up their end of the bargain in terms of a lot of the fights that they're finding, but they're taking some disadvantageous fights, and they're probably taking a few too many fights as well, and that's obviously bringing them a little bit unstuck. Senjo, it seems like a lot of the time they're getting themselves into sticky situations where either they're having to rotate into someone's position and they're trying to breach, or they're the ones being breached and, you know, they're unable to defend against that breach. So I think it's really just trying to get a bit of a grasp of the level at which the games are played here in PCS APAC, getting a bit more used to the higher skill level that, you know, both of these teams are maybe not used to facing, and getting that kind of experience under their belt that if they were to come back next season or, you know, in 2 or 3 seasons time, they're probably in a situation similar to, you know, maybe where Magic Esports is, or the Expendables, or one of these teams that's sort of sitting in the middle of the pack, having good games, having bad games, but, you know, definitely contesting. And at the moment, we're obviously not seeing that from them, but I don't know if that's necessarily even the expectation for either of those teams.
Final game of, well, what is week 2, day 2? Or just day 5, if we were to go with that one for simplicity. Of course, only one more day for PCS6 APAC. That will be tomorrow, same time, of course. 5 games remaining. No flashy battle for top spot, but it is still heating up, of course, for that second place. And the difference between second and fourth, because, I mean, realistically, I think Cerberus might be a little bit too far behind in some ways for second, but in saying that, it's only 17 points. So you know what, we'll keep them in and we'll look at sort of the top 5. Jordan, 120 points for second, 5th is 64. That is almost double. If you can go, if you're Cerberus and go from 5th to 2nd, in terms of PGC points, that goes a long way of getting you towards PGC 2022.
That is a big difference maker. Mirage, probably not where he wanted to land in the end. Petra, though, he's going to be on his merry way. And Team Bliss will continue to loot Los Leones. Insight came across for the covering fire if necessary. Both teams walk away pretty happy. Where is Petrak going to go, though? Down the cliff, it looks like. The top 5 kills for our first 24 matches. We were talking about this, and actually bear in mind, this also has, I believe it's 5 grand attached, the kill leader, which at the moment is Flash. Yep. 5 ahead of Nurans, his teammate, and then Clories is a pretty hefty 13 behind the top spot. So by tomorrow, I'd have to say it's probably going to be a race between Flash and Nurans for the kill leader at the very least.
I wonder if Daytrade just sort of run around and see if they can get those 2 more kills, one or the other. And yeah, it's an intriguing one. Do they call a truce? Do they say we'll split it 2.5 each? At this point, it's pretty close. But
yeah,
in terms of the last game of kills, Jun with 9, making a late little run of things. Probably too late though, let's be honest. And Duck Juice with 7. You know, the Expendables have been really good when it does come to finding kills. When they do not have that little battle with attack all around. Henceforth on Miramar, they find success. And even Gems with 4 kills there too. A lot of damage, a good game. So, I mean, and Levi's is in there too for top 5. It just, again, will be repeated once more. These 2 teams need to sort out the differences into PCS7 and stop battling in Pachinki so that they can have a really, really good opportunity of things. Because I feel like the Expendables and attack all around are actually good enough to be competing in the top 5.
I agree. But I think it's also too late. We've only got one more day, you know? It's like you can't...
Well, I meant sort it out for the next PCS.
The next PCS, yeah, true. They'll both be hoping that the other doesn't qualify, I dare say. Unlikely, though, as it is. But at least when it gets to Miramar, we get to have a little bit of a cooler, calmer start to the game. Only the 3 minutes in, so not a whole lot going on at the moment. But the Expendables, what a performance from them. 21 kills in the last game. That's APAC history. And look, if there was going to be a team that was sitting at the top of the scoreboard in APAC history in terms of the amount of kills in a game, I think for me, Buriram would probably be the one that I would associate most with that kind of a title, if that makes sense, right? They were very well known for having absolutely massive games, but not being able to get above the 19 mark obviously means they get overtaken by the Expendables. So we'll see how long that lasts. 22 kills. Who's going to be the first team to get a 22 kill win?
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to get broken, to be honest. I mean, it takes a mighty, mighty effort to get that many kills. A lot of things have to go your way. But yeah, I mean, obviously we've seen a couple of teams, right? As you mentioned before, 20 kills, 19 kills. It's... definitely doable if you just have one of those kind of games. Attack all around. 99 kill points, only the 31 placement points. Lo and behold, of course, the battle in Pachinki being a big factor for the discrepancy between those 2 portions of points.
I mean, it's obvious that they can contest and that they're fighting well and they're a really tough team to go up against when you do get in an engagement with them. But you're 100% right. Those placement points really what letting them down. And I mean, attack all around, yeah, they're not a team that's going to shy away from that hard drop. As we've said multiple times, they did contest it in PGC as well. So if you're going to contest some of the best teams in the world in PGC, you're going to bet your bottom dollar that you're going to be doing it in PCS as well. But I do find it an interesting mentality. By the way.
And not on our screens at the moment, but the other thing to sort of take into account going into tomorrow, final day for PCS6, is the country MVP for Team Australia for the PUBG Nations Cup. Of course, decided, I don't know how or by who or when, but something to keep in mind. If you had to pick, Jordan, I guess between Team Bliss and Senjo, is there anyone on your mind that you would take?
To take to Nations Cup?
What was the MVP? Who would you be giving the MVP for the Australian spot?
Well, I think it kind of has to be Monty at the moment. Mirage is probably the next closest for me. I don't know that Insight or Bryn have really had as much of an impact as either of those 2. So yeah, for me, definitely between those 2. And I don't think obviously Senjo really have anyone that's in the discussion. I mean, Kang's been pretty good. I'll give him credit, but obviously Like, obviously, Senjo's been struggling a little bit more than Team Bliss, so it has to be someone from Bliss.
I'd go with Monty, yeah.
Yeah, has to be probably Monty, but, you know, if Mirage has a really good day tomorrow or is able to finish off today with some pretty good stuff as well, maybe, yeah, there's a discussion to be had there. But at the moment, yeah, I'd agree, Monty.
74 R1, our first down. 6.5 minutes into our final game of the night.
Ooh.
MBK as well to follow. So a little bit of a double down here onto Luxurious Esports as Simon gets Hungbo ditch. That's massive. Again, Unicorn Phoenix cannot find anything to go their way here for week 2. It is again them at a detriment early on.
Yeah, but at this time at the hands of BN United, who, to be honest, have really been struggling today themselves. So maybe it's time for a late day resurgence from BN United. If they can put at least one good game on the board here and get themselves back into maybe the top 6, then I think all can kind of be forgiven and we'll just turn our attentions toward what they can do tomorrow.
And it just, you know, further compounds the fact that for Theraton 5 Team Bliss, good opportunity to really take advantage of the lows of Unicorn Phoenix. Duckmai takes a few shots with the Car 98, 6 times. Crate just in front of him. I'm assuming he's the one that looted that one. And Glooms will pop up and see if he can fire back with the mini. No, he wants to keep things relatively safe. We did get the circle, obviously, phase 1. Pretty much smack center of the map, Jordan. Not really too much to say about it, so going to be a rather slow phase 1 as usual here on Miramar. Nothing crazy, no water play, not much really to even take home about the terrain. Lots of cities, lots of points of interest, so everyone should be pretty content here for phase 1.
There you go, Senjo. They'd love to have a good final game of the day. Definitely have had their moments, that's for sure. Today hasn't really been too favorable for them, though.
Well, I think even the week as a whole, right?
Yeah, that's
yesterday
right, yeah.
really was a bit unfortunate for them too. Obviously, back in week 1, they found that win to close out week 1 and thought maybe there's a chance that they could really kick on from that. That's never that easy, though.
That's kind of been like tradition almost for the second Oceanic team, the second seed Oceanic team, is that they'll find a win somewhere, but you know, past that, not really a whole lot usually. You remember the big Carnage win that we had?
Yeah.
In I think their first season, which was on Erangel around near hospital somewhere. So there's been quite a few sort of pretty interesting wins from the second seeds from the Oceanic region. But by and large, the second seed teams haven't really been able to contest toward the top end of things. And what I actually really like about it is that this Team Bliss roster largely is comprised of those kinds of players. Like, you know, you look back at Bryn and Monty have obviously been playing in PCS for a very long time as quote-unquote the second seed from the Oceanic region. And now, obviously, Insight moves over to Team Bliss, Mirage Flare comes in, and this is all of a sudden your #1 Oceanic team. And after 2 or 3 years, players like Bryn and Monty have had that experience, and they are now competing at the top end. So it does just go to show that, like, yeah, I mean, while they're not competing currently, for example, this Senjo roster, doesn't mean necessarily that those players are not going to be able to do anything in the future. So very, very good opportunities ahead still. If they're getting that experience under their belt, that can make a world of difference.
So we head up north, San Martin, Hacienda, Power Grid. Big POIs here for phase 2, and that also means pretty much the entire lobby is going to need to get rotating. There was a vast majority of teams over towards Los Leones, down the very south side of the phase 1 circle, even some over towards Chumacera, so it's going to have to be get in your vehicles and get going up north. The team that probably benefited the most, Boundham United, just around the cliffs close by to Power Grid. Alter Ego pretty much over towards Power Grid now. And that's about it. No one else really benefiting from that circle. The Expendables can get over to Hacienda rather early on. But yeah, this did go extremely far to the north. Does shake it up at least for phase 2, and I would expect to see a couple of rotational deaths, or at least knocks.
None so far, but you're right. This is going to separate the happy from the sad. And you're going to be very sad if you're sitting very far south. And Senjo, Luxurious, made in Thailand, those are probably the 3 teams that are saddest at the moment. They're a little bit disappointed with the way that this circle has treated them. How often do you get a San Martin finish? Very rarely. I mean, it still probably moves away. But a few teams hedging their bets going north side. It is going to be the safer side of the circle for the moment if you're there early. Anyway, Extraordinaire, there is your first kill on the rotation from How How. Might actually not end up being a confirmed kill because Theraton 5 have just rolled up and decided to challenge this.
Yeah, I mean, all very close by, so wanting this position just on the opposite side of Mr. Generales. How did get that knock, but as you said, everyone else is there, so you can contest, you can go for the revive. Although, they have absolutely been beaten here. There's only one player left. Congratulations to Team Extraordinaire. They've made light work of Theraton 5, and this is big news for Team Bliss and for Unicorn Phoenix. Just at least one of your direct competitors losing out comfortably in this fight early on. Nothing really gained from Theraton 5 this game for the final game of the night. As Norans goes down to Jayers. Day Trade losing 1 early to the piece as well. And yeah, Theraton 5 annihilated by Team Extraordinaire. How started it with the early down, and then you had others helping out with the next few.
Mirage in a bit of a spot of bother here. What if you whispered in his ear, this is for the Nations Cup team?
Still in contention for Mirage.
The 1-on-4.
Definitely still in contention. Has to have a big final day, though. Oh, picks up just in Leon's. He'll take the spray. It's an easy one. Any more? Yes, in fact, a couple, although a bit further distance. A really nice initial spray from Mirage, and not really panicking under the pressure here of a couple more Magic Esports players in front of him. He's played that nicely. Hasn't overcommitted. But this is a position, as you can see on the map, far down to the south. So not really in contention for being a position you want to hold or play for. And yeah, over towards Hacienda. So this is going to have to be something where you decide now for Team Bliss. Do you keep taking this fight and wipe out Magic Esports, or do you have an exit strategy? As Bryn on the flank gets 1 non. So Bliss may feel now it's better to clean this one up and get Cheeksing and Petret.
They've got a really good setup right here. Mirage, another couple of taps through that smoke, and Petret, he's just going to try and escape, but he cannot escape Mirage's sightlines. And so Magic Esports suffering largely at the hands of Team Bliss. They do still have that one player lurking around on the flank, but I don't imagine he should be a huge problem for Team Bliss unless he really just wants to be a thorn in the side, get a bit of revenge. Best case scenario for him is to just walk away, because it's all over for Magic Esports in the final game of the day.
Oh, Duck Might knocked down. So Cerberus losing 1-2. So far, for our final game of the night, it's the top teams, the top 5 teams, Jordan, all of the teams that are basically making up our storylines going into tomorrow that are losing players and losing them rapidly too. So Cerberus down to 3. We've already lost Theraton 5. Unicorn Phoenix down to 3. Day Trade down to 3. At least for Team Bliss, they still have 4 players up, but they've got the worst position in the entire lobby.
Grenade looks pretty close to Heisaki. He's run right on top of it. Oh, fancy footwork gets him out of there alive.
Ring around a tree.
I don't even know if he knew that there was a grenade at his feet. But ultimately, not going to hurt him. Cerberus need to be aware of Alter Ego as well. There's a bunch of teams hanging around. And a bunch more on the rotate in too. And there goes Cheeksing. And actually, he's still copping shots from Team Bliss, so they don't want to let all the magic away. He is around the corner and in relative safety. But he just can't catch a break, can he?
No. Jacob goes down 2 for Made in Thailand, so yeah, even furthermore now, the top 6 are all heavily wounded. Like that 48 alive as Insight has, well, just had one of those kind of days. Just doesn't go your way, and a lot of it out of your control, almost virtually all of it out of your control for the most part, like a lot of rotational deaths, being knocked out of vehicles. And those are honestly the worst kind of deaths. You just feel so helpless and powerless, and all you can really do is sort of shrug your shoulders. Hey, Mass? And that Cerberus done. Well, there you go. Saw them throw out a nade, but then the other way, NRX just push up and get the easy 3K. So Cerberus out in 5th. And I was going to say, Jordan, that kind of is good news for Made in Thailand, but they've only got the one player anyway. So if anything, it's good news for the Expendables.
Certainly is. Can probably jump themselves up into 6th place if they have a good game here. They're also got to be aware of BN United and Attack All Around, who are not too far away, but they're actually doing a number on to Attack All Around right now. Glooms has been finished off by 10-8. Team Bliss might be getting their comeuppance here against Cheeksing. Got the DBS. He's going to charge forward. He's really looking for something here inside of the smoke, and he might well get it if he finds the timing onto Bryn. Not quite. Bryn's all over it. So Team Bliss eventually do dispatch of Magic Esport. And in the meanwhile, we get to watch Archangel Predator go rotating past BN United. Lots of shots in their directions. Mad Dog suffering a bit of wheel spin, but it looks like Archangel Predator will get away okay for the moment. Man actually gets a shot through onto his head, and it's Belmoth to get that one. So Archangel Predator, they're actually going to commit for the res here too. That is a risky one, but inside the smoke, they might be okay. Algenbots, he's dropped as well. Nan is done, and that is unfortunate. I think Algenbots really should have just kept going, but looks like Mad Dog's got knocked too, so it doesn't really seem like it's going to work out for Archangel Predator. Bad time to pull up.
Yeah, and we were also seeing in the kill feed, by the way, Unicorn Phoenix finding a couple of downs onto Team Bliss, who were rotating past them over towards Graveyard. And Unicorn Phoenix cleaning up Team Bliss a little bit there. So they are down to just the one player. So they too can't really gain a whole lot from this final game. At the moment, tied on points with Theraton 5. And it's big for Unicorn Phoenix. Despite losing that player early on, they've now got a couple of kills and still holding on to that 2nd place. And I think they'll hold on to that 2nd place going into tomorrow. And we know that they are a team capable of, really finishing with a decent amount of points. I know that in the past, yes, their final week was, a bit weak, but if they find form, if they get to their best, it's going to be hard to see the other two really overtake them. And Cerberus are out, and Thailand are out. So a chance for the Expendables, Baonam United, AAA, those kind of teams now, 7, 8, 9. If you finish strong, if you have like a 20-point kind of game, you go into tomorrow with a chance of really picking up some points and some extra prize pool. Phase 5 on top of Baonam United. Is this like a last dance for them, Jordan? You finish strong here, 5 games to go tomorrow. Can they still get, say, like a 5th place finish?
Has to be, doesn't it? It really does. They have to make some amends for how things have been going so far this week. And for BN United, no better opportunity than what they've got right now. They're locking down the only compound inside of the zone. They've got all 4 players up and alive. There is really barely any cover outside of their building either. So they should be able to do a bit of farming. Oh, that grenade's actually gotten the better of Gems. Unreal. It's not going to be Attack All Around's game, that's for sure. They will not be catching BN United. Alter Ego trying to get the better of the Expendables. They've got shots onto Attack All Around as well. Tede not able to really land too many of those with the SLR. And Janku surviving for the moment. What a day is though.
What a day though from Alter Ego. Like seriously.
Just chilling. Oh. How's he alive? How is Jays alive?
Yeah, not too sure. But yeah, Alter Ego, incredible day today. First, third. They had that one game where they, finished 16th, but you put that one aside, and overall a magnificent day for them. And that's probably what some of those teams down the bottom kind of need, is just that one day where you play at your best and you feel confident that you can run around the lobby and do well. I think Senjo kind of had that at the final day of week 1. Maybe they can have that again tomorrow, or maybe even to finish off this game here. But that's what those teams need to prove their worth going forward, and to, the likes of PCS6 to feel confident.
That's the end of attack all around. I think we all knew that was coming. They did not have a very fun cross to make. Unicorn Phoenix down to just the 3 players. Starting to work their way in. And you say maybe a last-ditch attempt for BN United. Maybe another attempt for Senjo to send it in one vehicle. Dare I cast my mind back to what happened on Erangel on day 1. This time, they're not driving directly at anyone, so no grenades are bound, but still a bit scary.
That's not in, though. I don't think that's inside of the circle, so pulled up a little bit short. It does give them time maybe just to heal up a bit before really sending it in. Still 30 more seconds, still phase 6 anyway, so you've got a bit of that time. But a good opportunity here for Senjo to finish strong, get some points. Points that have been hard to come by here so far in week 2, day 1 and day 2 that has been. So if you finish strong in this game and then take that into tomorrow, I think that's basically just the goal now for Senjo. Not even to get out of the bottom 2, but to just finish strong, get some points, have some fun, enjoy your game as we go to phase 6. I'm assuming this will go on to Boundheim United away from the cliffs to the top left. And yeah, for the most part it has. So Boundheim United should be winning this game unless they throw it away or another team makes a really, really good play.
You'd probably need to see someone try to send it at BN United and maybe knock out 1 or 2 of their players. What is that bike doing? Like Senjo, for example, you know, what if they just sent it? What if they just went straight in on BN United, took out 1 or 2 of those players? Maybe then a team like Day Trade could look to clean up, or the Expendables, or Unicorn Phoenix. Something like that needed to happen.
I mean, that's
I don't know that anyone's going to be too keen on sending it right at BN United right now.
You want to be the team coming in and cleaning up, not the team sending it in first and getting a bit wounded. Well, they got no choice but to get moving. Rep does go down to CJ, but Kang at least got the elimination. Do they have time to get Rep back up? No, it's the answer. But they do get an extra kill.
Day Trader searching for some kills here. Hunting for a few more points. Flash is alive, Nurans is not. That kill leader race could swing further in the direction of Flash.
I tell you what, though, it's been Day Trade's quietest night all PCS event. I'm got to be certain of it. No wins, no real big games. This was sort of the opportunity where if, you know, Unicorn Phoenix had their best night, we could have actually been going into tomorrow night with a winnable chance. So Unicorn have kind of blown it, right? They too have been very quiet tonight. And when it's all said and done, right now, coming into this game, Day Trade and Team Blizz were tied in points so far for week 2. So that's how much Team Blizz have caught up. That nade will get Linksy all that distance. What a nade from Balmoth. Kang and Still do get a light. Now, Alter Ego pushing onto the Expendables, but they don't push too far onto them at all. Shut down rather early in that push. 6 teams, 18 alive. Pickup truck still just driving in the distance as Day Trade continue to just try and push closer to the other 2 players of Senjo.
Got to say, the Expendables are backing up their last game with a pretty decent one here as well. 5 kills already, and maybe a couple more on offer as well, because NRX don't look like they're in a good spot at all. Here's another grenade for Senjo to contend with. The grenades have been their arch nemesis so far in PCS, but they'll survive the onslaught for now. Another circle shift yet to come, and this one could still bring about the undoing of BN United if it went hard northeast, maybe. But it won't. So they're still good.
Yeah, and it's just crazy that still, these kind of games for Day Trade, this has just been the night for them, where they haven't had their best night, if anything, their worst night, all event long, but that just goes to show how good their other nights have been. And even still, they're always just around here, hanging around. Only the 2 kills, but it's top 6. You know, they're just always scraping points. 4 kills for Unicorn Phoenix, but only the 2 players alive in a bit of a sorry state in terms of position. Boundham United just sort of watching on. Only the 4 kills this game for them is NRX. Well, they basically blow themselves up. They go in 6. Cab gets a long-range knockdown onto 777, who can get revived by Duckjuice. Phase 7, 5 alive, 14. Well, 5 teams alive, 14 players, of which 8 kills, though, for the Expendables. They're now up into 6th place, Jordan, above Made in Thailand. And they'll be in a position going into tomorrow where they can compete for a top 5 finish if they continue with this sort of form.
100%. And they've really come out of nowhere today. Obviously, tomorrow is going to be a 3 Miramar day as well, where they won't have to contend with attack all around as much in Pachinki. Looks like they're just going to give up Levi's points over to the zone. He was a bit too far to make that cross, and that's fair enough. Don't want to give any of those important points over to BN United in particular, who would probably be the benefactor of them. Day Trader, on the other hand, maybe not as big of a deal for the Expendables. But they don't want to be seeing that. They really don't want to be seeing Clories get that knock and kill more so onto 777, because BN United is really hot on the heels of the Expendables. And to be fair, BN United probably goes on to win this game. So
for sure.
There is a world actually where BN United maybe overtakes the Expendables.
How is this 36%? I'm sorry, but Boundham United should be about 99.999% to win this game right now.
Well,
Simon pushes up. Well, I can apologize for someone here. As Flash is the last one alive, and they're giving him 47%. No, yeah, get rid of it. Throw it away. There's no way he's winning a 1v3 behind this rock. Well, he's not behind the rock, but behind this little defilade. Well, Simon will die.
If we played this out 100 times, he'd win 47 times, mate. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, Sapao, well, don't throw this away. Don't force, like, 1v1s here. Don't give him an opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
There you go.
Well, there you go. In the end, it's Boundham United that will walk away with the game 25 victory, and it comes with a degree of anticlimax, I feel. We kind of called that one pretty early on in the piece. But look, a really good victory for BN United, and it comes at the perfect time as well, because things were looking a little bit dire for them this week, and to be able to get that win right at the end, it sort of sets them up nicely for tomorrow. You know, it gives them the argument into the top 5 that they could make happen for sure.
Certainly a big result for Boundham United, because week 2 has been slow going for them. And yeah, as you said, keeps them in that race for the top 5. They too, alongside the Expendables, and for the most part also made in Thailand. So we've kind of got groups of teams besides really Day Trade, right? Day Trade's all alone on top. And then you've got like this group of 3, or I guess maybe group of 4 if Unicorn, Theraton, Bliss, and Cerberus. Then you got a group of 3 of Boundham, Expendables made in Thailand, attack all around kind of by themselves maybe in the middle of the field, and then you've kind of got the bottom half of the table. But big result for Boundham United, who have just not really been able to replicate a lot of what we saw from them in 2021. Yeah, roster changes, of course, a big factor, but they'll take this win. Not the most flashy win that you'll ever see. 11 kills with it. I think for the most part, Jordan, if you go back and look at a lot of the wins that we've had here for PCS6 APAC, they've generally had a decent amount of kills. We haven't really seen like 3-kill wins or 2-kill wins or anything like that we kind of saw maybe in some of the PCS events gone by back with the most chicken rolls. So really nice to see that when we're seeing teams win, they're generally winning with decent amount of kills as well.
You know what the funniest thing is? I've just had a very quick look, and one of the first ones I saw was actually a 3-kill win from Day Trade. But you are right. It's the exception to the rule. I mean, there was 3 kills for Day Trade in round 3.
Okay, that's 1.
Senjo had like a 5-kill win right at the end of last week. And then the lowest behind that was like a 6-kill win. And everything else has pretty much been
close to double digits.
Close to double digits or double digits. There was a 5-kill win there for Team Bliss this week as well. But yeah, apart from that, I'm seeing a lot of 11s, 10s, 13s as well. And I agree with your main sentiment there, which is just the teams that have walked away with the wins have generally gotten pretty big wins as well. And that might be a large factor as to why we're seeing such a top-heavy looking lobby, right?
Yeah.
With Day Trade picking up so many of the wins that we've, so many of the games that we've had, and the wins are being big ones, then obviously you put 2 and 2 together, and that's kind of why they're starting to run away with things a little bit. But I'm happy with what we got out of today, to be honest. It sort of feels like, once again, we've sort of re-solidified a bit of an interesting discussion around that second place battle. Obviously, Unicorn Phoenix do pull out ahead slightly again going into tomorrow, but really a 9-point lead over Theraton 5 and Team Bliss is nothing to get too excited about. Cerberus maybe a little bit off the pace but definitely a 3-horse race for second, and then a good, interesting battle for that 5th place as well between maybe 4 teams. So definitely some interesting sort of results to kind of keep in mind for tomorrow's 5 matches.
Yeah, and the best thing about that is it's kind of taking a whole the top 9 really when you sort of look at it and all those positions that can still move around. And you know, when you look at the PGC points up for grabs, there's obviously the money factor as well. But 9th is what, 24 points, $6,000. Second is 120 points, $36,000, right? So a big difference for those places. And then even jumping from 9th into, say, you know, even 6th, right? It's like an extra 24 points. Like you're basically doubling up just about. I think it's 22 points, but still the point is there that for only jumping a couple of places, you can get a lot of points and a lot of extra money too. So a lot to fight for, really, for the majority of teams going into tomorrow. I wanted to quickly touch on Senjo. Very good game from them to close things out. They got 6 points in that final game. Of course, points have been somewhat hard to come by for them, along with Luxurious Esports. So good to see them just continuing to fight on and make pushes and try and make some plays, try and get some kills. As Simon, speaking of kills, has 4 kills, is the player of the match for match 25 of day 5. That's a lot of damage though. 707 damage for 4 kills doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, but hey, that's going to get some fantasy points as well. You get points for damage too, so you'll be happy if you got Simon in your fantasy team. Of course, nice to see a little bit of a return to form for BN United. They get 21 points out of that game. Obviously, the Expendables, you know, still chiming in. It's been a really good day for the Expendables. Very impressive stuff. I mean, I say good day. I actually feel like it's been a good Miramar, really. Like, they got a lot of work done on Miramar. They didn't do a huge amount on Erangel, but I guess in the context, overall, a very good day for them in comparison to some of the previous ones that they have had. And they'll be happy to see 3 Miramars coming up tomorrow. That is going to make their run into toward the top 5 a little bit easier than had they had to, again, deal with all of those hot drops from Attack all around, who actually do drop out into 9th place. We were worried that it might be BN United that would actually drop down into the 9th, into the bottom 8, and that actually hasn't been the case. They do bounce back with a win in the final game of the night and sort of re-solidify their place in the top 8. So, been a bit of a roller coaster today, but here we are with one day, I should say, left to play in PCS6 APAC, and a lot of possibilities still on offer.
Yeah, definitely. And that's really all you can ask for going into the final day of any sort of tournament. You never really want to have the last day be basically games that just don't matter, you know, sort of dead rubbers, if you will. And fortunately, yes, okay, top spot maybe is quite one-sided in that day trade. Should be running away with it. I mean, I don't even think we can even say that if the miracle thing happens. I just don't think that's feasible at all. But at least second place. Big fight for that second place. Who knows? That could be the difference between going to PGC 22 or missing out, is the difference between, you know, if you finish 3rd, 4th, 5th versus, say, 2nd. Those points could end up being a determining factor. And then also, even for those teams that, you know, have 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, again, big points, big prize money to be fighting for going into tomorrow. And it's slim margins, very slim margins. We're talking basically one game will flip the table for those teams 2nd to 8, right? So with 5 games to go, who knows where it's going to finish then?
You're 100% right. And I guess that's really the main takeaway from today, is that no one has done enough to solidify their place bar day trade. And to be fair, they'd probably already done enough last week. You could have called it probably last week and said, yeah, day trade, unless they have an absolute shocker of a week too, should be walking away with first. But aside from that, yeah, there's been some good performances here and there, but nothing solid enough to say that X or Y is going to take 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Who knows? It's a real roller coaster, and we've got one day left to decide all that.
25 matches played so far for PCS6 APAC. We're done for day 5. Day 6 tomorrow will be the final day for these teams to claim as many points as they can for PGC 2022. We'll see you tomorrow.
I cannot be stopped, no.